wanna train the very best. There's no better team. I will battle every day. It's always been our dream. Pokémon!
Hello everybody, welcome to the D-Pad. I'm Rick, and this is Pokemon the Very Best. We're here in Pallet Town. We're about to head back to Route 1. We're training up Strats, who's currently level 43. Get everybody up to level 100. Hello, hello. It's kind of blue. I was kind of aiming more for purple. I was going for like a Rattata color. It's kind of hard to get a good like purple light the right way. I guess I could have gone a little bit harder on it, but that's okay. Let's spin our polls. We have about 5 minutes before we need to get started. So what do we got first? What are we doing a poll for today? Oh, we doing some Gen 5? No, we're into Gen 4. Gen 4. Okay, well what do we... Let's see, Gen 4, alright, so this is the first time we've had a repeat so far for a Gen. Every single time we've done a different one. So we've already picked a starter, and our starter is going to be Turtwig. So over on this end, we're going to knock out the starter from here. I'm trying to remember, Gen 4, I guess in Gen 4, are you only able to dig for fossils? Actually, the the underground in original Gen 4 is more of a platinum thing, isn't it? I'm trying to remember how that works. Well, let's spin for now, and then we'll see how it goes. If we don't land on fossil, it doesn't matter. I really should have put down a list of which ones actually do matter for the fossils. Yeah, we're not landing on fossil regardless. Oh, just over the line. All right, well, there we go. So we're going to be talking Gen 4 versions tonight. I have no intention of putting my thumb on the scale, but I kind of have a feeling which way this might go. So whoop, we'll wipe that out. Fossils are version exclusive. Okay, so 4 it doesn't matter for fossil won't be in there then. Got it. Version should I play? And where is my poll? There it is. Oh, right, it's over here. And let's put our options in. There we go. We got our 3. Excellente. Now I can actually have my thing open here. Fantastic. But yes, you dig for them and get as many as you want. I think what we might do then, since for that one, maybe what we'll do for the underground will be because you don't choose a fossil in the same way as you do in other games, maybe what we'll do is whatever fossil I encounter first, I get to keep. So long as I haven't had that fossil before, right? So like Dome or Helix, like that sort of thing. So it's just hitting rocks for hours and hours and hours on end for another... It's probably why Diamond is the game I have the most hours in. I mean, that would make sense, yeah. Got a little under 3 minutes before we start. I'm just going to put that right there. I don't think I'll be needing much of that, though. I am going to have to click on this for that. You can't get non-Sinnoh fossils before post-game. Oh, okay. That is probably going to wind up being one of the questions in there. It might even be for each gen, just because different gens have different intensities with this, but there will probably ultimately be a question about whether we should do any post-games. Any post-games at all. And I think in some cases we probably should. Like Gen 5, at least the first gen, like Black and White 1, the story doesn't really end until you've done kind of the post-game, as compared to the other ones where, like, for the most part, you don't have to do the post-game. Like, once you become champion, you're kind of good. Gen 5, I mean, that's not an untrue statement still, but it definitely, the way things end up in Gen 5, you definitely are expected to do kind of what amounts to a post-game to actually, like, finish. So I don't know. That's probably going to be... That actually might be something that we add on to there. It's also something that'll probably really Gen 5 of the story is kind of over after the first credits. You don't become champion, but that's not really a big deal. It's true, though I feel like it's sort of one of those things that feels like, you know, the thing that you should do in a Pokemon game, right? Is like you get to the end, you become the champion, and then, all right, you've beaten the game. Which, like, it does give the sneaky sort of backdoor thing of Alder gets to be, like, really difficult right out the gates by virtue of that. You beat the guy who beat the champion. True. That's true. Because it's Getsis that, I used to say Gestis all the time, but it is Getsis, right? Ghetsis. I guess if he didn't go through the League the Pro, because I'm like, wouldn't that make him the champion? But, like, he doesn't go through the proper channels. Oh, was it N that did it? I thought it was Getsis. All right. Regardless. I don't know. Maybe it's because then on the flip side, we're going to start in a couple seconds here. And all right, we're in. On the flip side, you've got stuff like Gen 4, where that postgame was fucking brutal. That was a lot. And that included, you know, among other things, a literal, like, 12-hour grinding session. So, like, not really thrilled with that, conceptually, you know? Paper Mario's final dungeon, you beat Junior Troop and you beat the Koopa Bros once. I mean, you beat the Koopa Bros, the door finds it too confusing. Oh, God. But yeah, I don't know. I have written down in somewhere, like, a list of possible further questions. Actually, can I... Alright, well, this is happening. Let me... Oh, I missed. Whoops. It's like, what's going on? Why is nothing happening? Let's see. Other questions that I've got in there include, like... Actually, you know what? Let me pull this to the other side, because then I can... Here we go. That's much better. Oh my god, I can actually read it at the same time as everything else. So some other potential questions. I don't know if they actually will be questions, but stuff. Platinum, don't make yourself suffer through incomplete Sinnoh again. Oh god. Oh. Gotcha. I thought that was a continuation of the discussion of, like, post game type stuff. Not a vote. But yes, we got 100 in for Platinum. So other questions that are in there, should there be bit incentives? I don't know for what, but, like, there's the possibility of adding, you know, bit incentives as something to there. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, I don't even know what this one means, so I don't know. Should I randomly roll for viable types in Sword and Shield wild areas and Scarlet Violet? Oh, I think the idea there was, rather than, because I can just see the Pokemon, like, it's already going to be a thing in, because I think Sun and Moon you can also see some of the Pokemon, right? Or no, I guess not. But since you can see wild Pokemon wandering around, especially in, like, wild areas and stuff in Gens 8 and 9, should I essentially, like, roll a D18 and based off the result, that is the type I'm allowed to get in a given area? And I'm kind of back and forth on that myself, considering, like, Sword and Shield, there's an argument for doing that with, like, the wild areas are done so weird, or the wild area, rather, is done so weird in Sword and Shield. I have to take some time and look at it. Scarlet and Violet, I guess the actual, like, map areas are so fucking huge that, like, I probably couldn't justify just grabbing whatever, because then it's me grabbing, like, 20-ish, not even including the, like, caves and stuff, but, like, 20-ish things that are just, you know, whatever I feel like. Post-game BDSP is incomplete, yeah. Yeah. We are definitely missing the whole, like, distortion world and all of that. It's so surprising after Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, like, tried to essentially, so they remade in a handful of ways, Ruby and Sapphire, and then made up for the fact that they weren't remaking Emerald by including kind of a like variation on stuff from there, like a remix of some of that stuff into the post game. And then Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl was just like, don't worry about Giratina. It's like, why? Wait, what? No, I know it's not. I wasn't saying it was post game. I just mean the fact that like we don't get to do it at all in the. Oh, did I say Emerald? I'm bouncing between. No, sorry. When I said Emerald, what I meant was for Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, they included chunks of Emerald. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. Hello, C-Dude. Hello. I tend to rate post games by the amount of like actual things you can explore in them. The measure is getting lower and lower with time, sadly. Yeah. And I mean, part of that is they've shifted focus to DLC. And they release the DLC so quickly sometimes that, like, it kind of becomes post-game, sorta. Whether it's balanced to be that or not. Was knowing thing about probably nuzlocking Scarlet and Violet is that every area subdivision is not very clearly delineated when you cross them, but you'll figure it out. Yeah, I figured what I would probably do is just go off of... I know, because, like, the boundaries are fuzzy, right? Like, it doesn't actually trigger the transition until you're, like, a few feet into the area or something. I figure what I'll do is, I will assume that I'm in the same area until I see a new header pop up. The little thing that's on there. Because I think it does still show you, like, you know, blah, area 4 or something, right? The entire battle zone has way less content than an Emerald. Ah, gotcha. But yeah, so like post-game, because I guess really the biggest question would ultimately be, oh, I guess we kind of have, no, I guess not. I just kind of like, my brain went off onto like 3 different tangents in a row, because my first thought was like, well, what do we do as far as gold and silver, like gold, silver, crystal? Or I guess crystal, because we chose crystal already. Are we just not going to do Kanto? Which, I mean, it is technically post-game, so, like, we don't have to. And then my second thought was, ooh, am I allowed to catch stuff in Kanto? Or are we going to consider those the same routes as they were in Gen 1? And like, ooh, only ones that, like, I didn't try to, or whatever, but then I thought about it some more, and I'm like, yeah, but Gen 5 literally is the same areas for about 85% of the game, so that just doesn't fly at all. So, we wouldn't do it that way anyway. But yeah, it would really be the question of, like, do we do Kanto in Gen 2 at all? Or do we just skip it? And I guess we could go either way with that, because, like, before going to Kanto, you do become the champion, so... Ah, nice. You doing some grinding as well? I've really soured on Gen 2 Kanto over the years. I will be honest, I don't love Gen 2 Kanto. Where you can't get anything in old areas, or at least areas where you have successfully caught something. You can make an argument for getting a second shot at ones where you failed, but no, we won't do it that way. Though that'd be a very interesting way for someone to do a Nuzlocke of those. But yeah, Gen 2 Kanto, I love Gen 2 Kanto for the novelty of it, and like the history of it, and just sort of the audacity of it being there in the first place. Like, oh, hey, you're playing this, like, there are so few examples that I can think of where this has been done anywhere else. A great example is Dragon Quest III, where you're playing through this game, and oh yeah, hey, you've done all this stuff, you've beaten what seemed to be the final boss. Surprise, an abbreviated version of the first game is actually also here, and there's a harder final boss you can fight. And it's like, whoa, okay. Like, I appreciate it for that, but it is like a ramshackle kind of mess of an area. Everything is really crunched in, like it had to be, but still. Some areas felt like they were just like, whatever, just put something there, whatever. Like Blaine with the destroyed Cinnabar Gym and the volcano. It just felt like they were like, we don't have time to design anything here. Just stick, or maybe we literally don't have space. Just stick them in a room. We'll just say the volcano blew up. It's not as rewarding as Gen 1's Kanto at all. Just so hard to enjoy Gen 2 Kanto with the Kanto and Heart Gold Soul Silver is like actually designed with a matter of thought. I mean, that certainly makes sense, because by the time you get to the DS, it's like, okay, we don't have to crush everything down anymore. We can kind of do a more properly fleshed out version that is closer to what was in Fire Red and Leaf Green at that point. But yeah, Gen 2 Kanto is like, meh. For it to be all of Japan, with the entire of Kanto being one town kind of shaped like Gen 1. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I did not know that. That would have been very interesting. I don't know how they would have made that make logical sense. Because, like, on the one hand, thanks. On the one hand, you do have, like, Zelda 2 with Zelda 1 in it, but, like, Zelda 1 didn't have settlements. It was essentially just open world stuff. So you can crush that down and you're not really losing much there. Whereas doing the same thing to Kanto and having it be essentially one biggish town type thing, or like maybe, I don't know, you could make an argument for like Northwest Kanto, the Greater Saffron area, and the Seafoam Islands as like three kind of ding 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 areas there. I am curious about this, though. But, like, yeah, one big town is like, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Oh, that's so strange. That's so weird. The funny part is, it looks like it is bigger, but it looks like it is comparable in size to the actual Gen 1, like, Celadon and Saffron cities. That's so strange. Something about that just feels wrong. It's so funny that it's like, yep, here's Pallet Town, you walk north, there's some grass, and you're just there. You're just in Viridian City, and you walk, like, literally a few tiles north, and there's Pewter City, and there's the gym. That's interesting. That's a very interesting way for that to work. I missed the an Excel spreadsheet for Mario Kart World to compare times to the day. Oh, nice. Oh, that'll be fun. Okay, we're back up there. Cool. Hard to enjoy. Yep, we're going to talk about that. Everyone in Kanto is like 10 levels higher, so it's almost closer to being natural progression of strength at the Elite Four. Yes. As opposed to, I think I want to say in Gen... I'm trying to remember how they do it in Gen 2. Doesn't everyone go, like, down in level for a little while? Because, yeah, Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I only have it written in as Gym 1 in my notes. And I don't remember if that meant Brock or Lieutenant Surge, because I think you take the boat and wind up in Vermilion City. But the Lance fight caps out at level 51, and whatever Gym 1 is caps out at 54. So it's like, it is technically still an extension, but also part of what makes the Elite Four and Champion situation, like what makes the Pokemon League battles so difficult, is that you're doing 5 high-level trainers in a row. So when you do one trainer who caps out barely above what the champion did, it is definitely a pretty decent step down in difficulty because you've got way less to prepare for. It's not like a terrible thing, though. Like, it does make logical sense that, like, the gym leaders of Kanto would probably be less overwhelmingly intensive compared to the Elite Four and the champion. But yeah. The goal tonight is to hit level 45, by the way. Everyone's like high 30s to mid 40s or something. Yeah. I was going to say is like I vaguely recalled like that the gym leaders were roughly in the ballpark of like the last 2 gym leaders of Johto. Surge caps at 46, and all the other gym leaders are the same except Janine, who is weaker, and Blue, who is way stronger. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely very odd. And honestly, in fairness too, if we're going to be doing 11 games, if we're going to be doing 11 of these, 11 Nuzlockes back-to-back, we probably don't need to stretch that out with post-games at all. Not to mention, another important factor in this, post-games are usually... I guess it kind of fluctuates back and forth, but post-games are usually where you have access to legendaries and mythicals and stuff, though that, again, that becomes less of a thing as time goes on and they start to incorporate them into the plots. But at least for the early ones, you can't get Mewtwo till you've beaten the Elite Four. I actually don't remember what the conditions for... I think you had to beat the Elite Four for the legendary beasts, too. Might not be the worst idea to just wipe every post game. Wipe as in just don't do any of them. Because, like, honestly, I'm the only one that I'm like considering is Gen 5 the first time around. Are they both available pre? Okay, couldn't remember. Black and White 1 I'm debating still, just because it does have like some meaningful story to it. It does feel a little strange, although on the flip side, I was gonna say it feels strange to not become champion and then consider the game beaten. However, we are gonna have a second game in Unova. I'm trying to train myself to say Unova instead of Unova, especially now that it's clear to me why it is pronounced as Unova in the first place. It's like, all right, fine. The only legendary lock is the non-box art. You get their wing in Pewter City. Gotcha. But yeah, like if we're gonna be doing black or white, and then black or white 2, then we have the opportunity to become champion before we leave Unova. So. Yeah, it'll be fine. Whoops. Boop boo boo. If you want to talk meaningful story, the most post games have enough of that. If you consider things like the Looker Bureau in XY, the Ultra Beast story in Sun Moon, Sword and Shield, Bird and Sword and Shield, I suppose that's fair. But also, I guess I don't know that I consider any of them important enough for what this is. So maybe we just say no to post games altogether. Which honestly, in fairness, it does make Black and White more interesting by doing it that way. Because it does successfully pull off one of the few things that I keep kind of wanting Pokemon to get more daring with, and they never do, which is, hey, what if something happens that's more important than the Pokemon League? Like, it's exactly the thing that Sword and Shield got wrong, Black and White got right. And in, like, multiple ways, too. One, they're just like, hey, this thing just happened and it is so much more important than your champion battle, dude. And then thing 2, all the gym leaders are present. And it's like, hey, okay, this actually feels like this is how this shit would probably actually get handled. It's really, really well executed. I was trying, I don't know if anybody here was watching, so I joined on Shellshock's podcast was it last night? It was last night, actually. And it was about Pokemania, and at one point we were talking about the best, essentially what we think are the best, like, version of Pokemon. I'm trying to remember his full handle. Ben, though. Actually, you know what? I have a very easy way to find this. I want to properly cite his... Oh no, this is going to take a hot second. It's fine. It's like, oh, I'll just check Blue Sky, and I've got like 100 notifications. Ben Magnet. was saying that, like, for him, it is by far Heart Gold and Soul Silver. But he did also mention that he has not played Black and White yet. And my response was like, so Heart Gold, Soul Silver, even from how little I've played, I also have some just cultural osmosis on some of it. My stance on the Gen 2 remakes is that it's at least a top 3. It's at least top 3. Maybe number 2. There's still a few of the games that I haven't played yet. And honestly, I do like X and Y quite a bit also. But for me, Black and White 1 is still right up on top. And part of that is the story is it's like literally the only time that the story has felt like it was actually crafted like really carefully. Heart Gold and Soul Silver do a very good job with theirs. It's very close. But I think Gen 5, just there's little details like, oh, when you fight N, his Pokemon don't come out of Poké Balls. It's like, oh, that's cute. That's a fun little detail. And every time you fight him, he has... Oh, not... I don't know if he has new Pokemon every time, but he has a very rotating cast of Pokemon that he uses. Which both makes him harder because you don't know what to expect on a blind playthrough, and also it does make sense that he's, like, essentially calling on his friends from nature and all that jazz. Scarvio gives Black and White stories a run for their money, and honestly, Sun and Moon aren't too far behind. Yeah, Sun and Moon, for their story, I would say Sun and Moon are pretty decent. I would put them right alongside X and Y. I'd have to really think about which one I like better between those. Scarlet and Violet, the Professor and Arven storyline, I think, is very well done. Like, everything to do with Professor and Arven. I would say that the Team Star plotline is, like, pretty good. And the gym fights, there isn't a storyline. There just isn't one. It's just the gym fights. But I would say it's pretty good. I think it gets bogged down a little bit by the scope of it. It does feel like you go quite a long distance between significant, like, plot beats. But does he actually still use Pokeballs? I could have sworn that he didn't, but maybe I could very well be mixing it up with like Partner Pikachu from, like, Yellow and stuff like that. Nemona's fine. Nemona's cool. And she definitely is a key, team member in kind of bringing everything to its resolution. He didn't listen to Leon. Nothing is more important than Pokemon League. I hope that Ben wasn't upset, because there was a point where I called out that Leon, and if this was on purpose, then it's a really clever bit of writing, and if it wasn't, then it makes it even more poignant and funny that Leon is kind of like, he's in the defense of a fictional character, he seems to be trying to push back against it to a certain extent, but Leon's kind of both a basic bitch and a little bit of a corporate stooge. Like, the second part is not really his fault. He's kind of been shoehorned into, like, going along with stuff, and by the time you get into the later part of the game, he's pushing back on it a lot harder, like, to his credit, but it feels super, like, basic bitch that the champion of the league that's, like, way more commercialized and way more, like, sportified and stuff has a Charizard as his ace. And it's like, oh, of course, you got a Charizard, because of course you do. Meanwhile, Ben Magnet is very much a fan of Charizard, and I realized after the fact, I'm like, oh, that was me shoving my foot down my throat a little bit there. Whoops. He actually calls out Pokemon without the lens of truth. That would be why. That's why. You gotta get, the trick is you gotta get the Doublade's hilts to cross, and you look through that, and that's the new lens of truth. That's how you do that. Maybe think of when you fight him with the legendaries. That's also possible. I don't know how likely it would be. I'm probably just full-blown, like, misassociating stuff, but... Love how the big good character of the game is constantly telling you to ignore the major cataclysms because you need to focus on sports, while the main villain's like, I need to under-up sports because the world might end in 1,000 years, and I can't wait one day to avoid killing everyone. Yeah, it's the most extreme versions of the two sides of that coin, and both of them are super stupid at how they're approaching it. The Day of Disaster one is hilarious, because it's like, if the reveal was like, such and such thing that's going on is actually quietly consuming more of the world's, like, life energy, and it gets faster and faster, and I've had my scientists with Macrocosmos looking into this, and it turns out that if we know that it's been speeding up. When they looked last year, they looked into this, a few years ago, and it said we had 1,000 years, and then they looked at, and then last week they ran the numbers again, and we only have 6 months or something. Like, make it sound so dire and, like, so exaggeratedly extreme that, like, you can kind of understand why someone might have a huge panic attack and go, I have to do the thing now. Not, we're going to run out of energy in more years than we've had anything resembling, technology in the real world. Like, the distance between then and the end of energy, the Day of Disaster 2 or whatever, is the distance between us and, like, Eric the Red sailing and discovering, what is now North America. Sorry, Darkest Day, not Day of Disaster. I am mixing those up. I can observe a lot of Pokemon serial writing, but I'm going to cause the Darkest Day for the future of Galar, of course. Yeah, that was fucking weird. The worst part is, ironically, between all of my Gen 5, Gen 8 comparisons about how, Gen 5, something can be more important than the Pokemon League, and all the gym leaders turn up and yada yada. And it's like, right, I forgot. Gen 8 also tried that, and it completely fell down the stairs in its attempt. Like, the chairman of the league just got on the Jumbotron and said, actually, I have to kill everybody now. Sorry, we might run out of gasoline. Like, sorry, what? I don't know, it's not literally gas, but, like, just it's the most bizarre, like, knee-jerk, like, this is what we're doing now. Like, why? What? For the sake of the world's future, of course. Yeah, it might be it could very well be the worst single frame of Pokemon. There's gonna be some stiff competition. The anime, I think, did a good job of fixing all that. Rose's father had died in a coal mine collapse, and he knew Eternatus was the only way to safely replace fossil fuels. Okay, that's already a comprehensible backstory. Gives him motivation, justification for at least his ambitions. But everyone was terrified of it, so he wanted to make Leon a modern-day hero who pacified Eternatus in big public spectacle, so he could finally convince the public to let him use it, make sure nothing like what happened to his father happened again. Okay. So the idea for Chairman Rose in the anime was to essentially, like, stage not like a phony battle, but, like, essentially, like, I guess it is sort of staging a battle in a way where the big scary thing gets defeated and you're all good, except, oops, turns out the big scary thing was actually a big scary thing after all. Gen 8 had a lot of lines that felt like they weren't finished or localized properly. Yeah. Bad Macrocosmos guy you chase. Oh, shit, yeah, the hide and seek. Oh, God. Was that Motostoke? No, that was, Was it Winden? Was it right near the end? God, yeah, I forgot about that. Jesus Christ. That wasn't great. Oh, fuck. Yeah, weird moments. For all bad I have to say about Galar, Winden is a top tier final set. Winden is cool. Winden's pretty rad. It's so weird because, like, most of the cities in Gen 8 are actually really good. I think a lot of the cities are really cool, really well thought out. There's interesting, like, character to them. Balonley. I'm still a little unclear how to pronounce that. Is gorgeous and very striking. I can never remember the name of it. The one that has the, like, final fight, side-scrolling type, situation going on. The send up to old beat 'em up games. It reminds me of the town I grew up in, actually. At least the downtown area of it. I very much grew up kind of in the suburbs of, like, right on the edge of the city, but because Motostoke is that's the third one. That's the one where you then, like, branch off and then return. Spikemouth was cool, yes. Winden was cool. I liked Motostoke also. Like, they actually had pretty solid cities. And just, like, the in-betweens, it's so strange, because, like, the actual areas felt very close to getting it right. Like, the cities are fine. I mean, like, the routes and stuff. Because, like, the mine was, like, okay. There was the Slumbering Weald, which was, like, strange and sort of just a fake area anyway. Mongarosa's so stupid his plan was for a Swordward and Shieldbird to stop Eternatus. Jesus. Oh yeah, Gellermine and Gellermine 2. That was, in fairness, that was a cute way to use route numbering for something other than routes in a way that does make, like, logical real-world sense, because mines are very often just numbered. I like the not Elite Four and Champion fights being spectacles instead of happening in a closed room. Yeah, I actually really... It does make perfect sense that in a region where Pokemon battles are a proper, like, televised sport, which is funny because the anime had been doing that forever. The anime literally, I think in the first episode, there's, like, televised Pokemon battles that you want to... that Ash winds up seeing on TV. So in the anime, like, a lot of Pokemon, of, like, your Pokemon journey is, like, in front of crowds and televised and all of that stuff. So it was nice to see a version of that happen in the games too. I don't know how I feel about a pseudo-randomized route through the end there. Because I don't know if your first time through is randomized. I know every time after it is, like for title defense, it's randomized. That I'm fine with. I think that started with Sun and Moon, didn't it? I do like that. It actually reminds me of Tellera Boxer, where you also have title defense once you become the champion, and you just do random harder fights against previous enemies and opponents until you lose. I do feel like having it essentially, like, not having because there is no real Elite Four in Galar, right? It is just fights against gym leaders and rivals, right? In the Black White manga, the gym leaders get crucified. They're just doing what they want there. Oh my god. Proper dungeons. Yes. Yeah. They really don't like doing that anymore. And I don't know if it's because they've leaned so hard into the open world aesthetic that they just don't want to leave you stuck in places anymore, or what, which is crazy because, like, the argument from a lot of things would be like, oh, you're playing on a portable system, you have to be able to, like, save or whatever. It's like, Pokemon never stops you from saving. You're always allowed to save in Pokemon. So, like, yeah, it would be nice if there were more, like, proper dungeon type things going on in Pokemon. And I'm obviously not counting remakes. Like, Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl had a couple, like proper dungeon maze type things happening, but that doesn't really count because those games came out 20 years ago. First time, it is always the same, I think, even if it gives off the impression that it isn't. You basically get to fight every important person and Nessa, I think. I was going to say, I remember Nessa being there, which felt strange, because she's the second gym leader in Galar. Like, I'm trying to imagine, all right, you've gotten to the Elite Four in Kanto, and you're going to fight a terrible example because you have almost nobody other than gym leaders to fight who are important. It would be like fighting, you know, a Team Rocket member and Blue early for some reason, and then fighting Misty, and then you fight Lance again or something, you know? Bede actually didn't qualify in. That's true. That is true. Bede just jumps into there. That I'm okay with. Although I think we did make fun of it during Pokemon Sword because that happened and that was fine. And then Rose interrupts it. And I think by that point we were kind of over it. We were like, can we not get fucking interrupted again, please? Can we just finish this fucking thing? Oh, man. I like dungeon crawling even when it's annoying. Same. Like, even when it's irritating, it does mix up the experience in a nice way. I think it's nice to be able to have different things going on. It is, in my opinion, that's one of the weaker points for Scarlet and Violet, is that everything feels kind of samey across the game. You're either outdoors or you're in a cave, and the caves are just outdoors, but you have a ceiling. And I get that it's, like, harder to do one of those in a, like, pleasing sort of way in 3D, but I don't know. We're missing something, you know? Gym leaders and whoever gets all 8 badges got to be an attorney because they all want to be champion. Yeah. And it's like, it's fine. I don't know. It's close to doing something interesting there. And like, in fairness, Sun and Moon did some weird stuff with the Elite Four also. I'm trying to remember. It was the first instance of an Elite Four member being something else before. I keep forgetting his name, but before a normal flying guy in Scarlet and Violet, you had Kahuna Hala, who's also in the Elite Four, and then there were 2 others who I think you meet at various points in the game. And then you also go up against Kahila, I think, the golfer, who literally, it's the only time you see her in the whole game. So it's this weird kind of like asymmetric sort of thing. Or Kahili, thank you. Bede only qualifies because he inherits being a gym leader by being banned from the league for his crimes. True, it is fun rules lawyering, though, where he's like, I have a right to be here. I'm a gym leader now, so... Oh, I guess that's true, yeah. Again, circling back to the interrupted, because, yeah, maybe he didn't have the right even being a gym leader, or maybe he just wasn't at it for long enough. But either way, still interrupting. The real game design reason Nessa's there is because she's hot. Probably. She was very popular in the run-up, so... 99% sure people are going to like her put in their tournament. Probably. Something. You fight Marnie, then Hop for the right to actually challenge the gym leaders in the tournament, then Bede interrupts, then you fight Nessa, then B/Alistair, then Raihan. Okay, yeah, so the actual real tournament is 3 gym leaders, and then, which makes sense if it's an 8-way tournament. Oh, that's right, because at least in the first one, it's all of the gym leaders that use Dynamax. Because Marnie's brother, whose name escapes me, is not in there, I don't think. At least for the first one. He does join into it later as just a trainer, but... so moment Raihan complains he has to do a single battle this time. Nice, yep. Never finished the golf course section of Alola, yep. Larry, that's right, yes. Ultra Sun and Moon throw Kahili in earlier, and the optional grabbing of the Flying Z Crystal, where she shows you the dance pose for her and then fucks off to the league again. Which, like, I guess is better. I don't know. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I'm very curious about, because it's like... I mean, because I am going to be playing Ultra Moon for Gen 7. I'm very interested in seeing when we get there how much feels like it was just put in there just because they were like, I don't know, man, do that now. Because there's also Painter Girl now actually does have a trial in the Ultra games. I know that. I love the Larry faces away from the camera in his picture. Yes, that's fun. Because it does give you just the tiniest bit of like a mystery to it, and then it's just this regular guy. The tournament doesn't even work if all 8 gym leaders were there. Opal retiring means there's an odd number for you to join as the challenger. Oh, yeah, wait a minute. You're totally right. Yeah, Opal retiring means that there are 7 gym leaders, as possible ones in there, and that assumes that Marnie's brother even wants to join. Oh, Piers is in. Okay, so yeah, so then it's the 7 that are still active, plus you to make 8. So the idea for the structure then is it's really 2 tournaments, right? Based off the way that they do that, because the implication before was that a lot of people could get a chance, but in the end it's like, okay, now we have to decide which one trainer gets a shot, and the one trainer is going to refight 3 people that they've already fought before fighting the champion. Hello, Don Lush. Hello. Final Four, you, Hot Marnie, a person you never see. Oh, that's right, yes. Yeah. I had a thought on that, and I've lost it, but I am interested in seeing how Ultra expands on stuff. I am aware that they kind of obliterate what the characterization of Lusamine was from the original Sun and Moon, though. Seemingly to the detriment of the story. I don't like her as a person, but I do like the way that they wrote her as being this kind of despicable person. When did the Gen 7 postgame and actually get to read the dialogue of the Eevee quest? I mean, hey, when all is said and done, there's no reason we couldn't, as bonus stuff, go back and look at postgame things too, Mantine Surf, the Cantonian Gym. Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Ghost Stories in the Trainer School, the Ditto Police Story, the nonsense with, with Samson Oak? No, Samson Oak is in the anime. Or is Samson Oak the Alolan one? John Button mashed his way through it, yeah. Samson Oak, okay. Because there's also a Professor Oak variant, I guess, is it the Orange Islands in the anime? Also, mellowed over the Lusamine retcon over time, still better than the anime. Oh yeah, I have not seen any of the anime past Johto, so 3DS games were really funny. I mean, I've harped on this before many times. I will still go to bat for, there was a really interesting opportunity that they had across the 3DS era of Pokemon where each of the games had a weird hook involving dimensional wormhole type stuff. All 3/4, depending on if you want to split Sun and Moon from Ultra Sun and Moon. So we'll just call it 4. All 4 paired games had a hook dealing with dimensional and interdimensional stuff. And they kind of, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, openly acknowledged that with the whole hey, we can send this meteor to another universe. We can literally send it elsewhere altogether. And then, one with the implication that if you do this, you will destroy a classic Game Boy Advance Gen 3 universe, which is kind of interesting. And then Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon obviously have the actual Ultra wormholes that you do stuff in. But and you have Team Rainbow Rocket. I kind of wish that there was a more concise piece of Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun and Moon that specifically dealt with X and Y, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, Sun and Moon, in terms of tying up that dimensional stuff with those 3 specifically in a meaningful way. because Sun and Moon also have the oh no, I guess that's probably Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. I know there's like a portal that takes you to like the opposite side of stuff or something too, but Mr. Bonding, Alolan Oak, the old man from space, I guess. Oh yeah. Orange Islands didn't have its own oak? Damn, alright. I could have sworn that there was like a very tan oak in there. Also, crazy to me that when Fire Red and Leaf Green did their thing, especially because Yellow was already a game that existed, that they didn't even a little bit do a nod to the Orange Islands and instead did a completely different thing with the Sevi Islands. And then same with Let's Go, where it's just like, aw, like you don't need to be yanking stuff from the anime because there's a million things in the anime that are not in the games. But Orange Islands was like, probably, it felt like the Orange Islands were the most prominent, like totally different thing that was like, here's an extended chunk of time. Whoa! All right, we have 1,000 going to Pearl. Holy cow. All right, 1,000 to Pearl. Hello, Gollux. I don't know how you'd really tie it up. They had a big finale where we fought villains from a bunch of other dimensions, but it's not like they were going to be like, okay, we close the portals and we'll never cheekily reference stuff being retconned again. Well, so, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. I'll have to see how Team Rainbow Rocket gets handled. From the outside, learning about Team Rainbow Rocket, it felt very, it felt a little nostalgia baity. Like, just arbitrarily, here's a team of one copy of all the classic bad guys. And it didn't feel like it was going to be something, especially because I guess classic isn't right because there is I think there is a Lysander in there. But like, it's just the sort of thing that feels like it's there just for the sake of pointing, going like, remember them? Remember these guys? How do you wrap up a plot about characters from past games coming from other dimensions without being a nostalgia baity? I don't know that we'd have a Team Rainbow Rocket, for starters. I wouldn't do a Team Rainbow Rocket. I think you'd have to take a look at what the elements of each of the 3 sets of stories involved, right? So Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, I think the biggest thing there wound up being the acknowledgement of, was it essentially just the fact that the alternate dimensions existed at all, and the link cable that could be used to sort of generate one of those wormholes. There's obviously the Ultra Beasts and stuff from Sun and Moon, which really they're so jarringly brought into the original Sun and Moon too. I'm trying to remember if there was an implication. Oh, because X and Y. I thought that I could swear there was an implication that the big weapon was literally so powerful that it essentially could like rip a hole in like space-time or something. I'm trying to remember. It's been a long time since X and Y, but I don't know, there's like, it feels like you could put stuff together where like, okay, there's some, and I don't know a lot about Necrozma, so maybe there's something there too, but like, all right, you've got, this, army even of these Ultra Beasts that are invading, and you need to handle this situation. There's so much going on, and we have the technology to like connect, like we can tap into these things, but we need this energy that they researchers in I was gonna say Galar, that's not right. Kalos figured, I don't know. It's hard to make it not be like very fan logic-y. I just wanted something. It felt, because admittedly part of this too was also that like X and Y was left hanging so hard, and it kind of felt like the other 3DS games were picking up the pieces of that and just sort of shoving them in arbitrarily and just kind of going like, sure, there's Zygarde pieces floating around, why not? It's like, all right. I don't know. it just feels to me like there's like one last piece of the 3DS era that's just missing. But yeah, the old Archie and Maxie designs. Suspect you're thinking hard about than most of them were. I mean, probably, yeah. The fact that there's fan art of Lucamine that really pulls your heartstrings to see that the username is a double bacon cheeseburger. Yeah. And yes, I did, the Oras one was basically like every cartridge is functionally its own universe / timeline / dimension, which is neat, and that makes perfect. It's such a cute meta way of doing that, because the implication, if I recall, is that the link cable that is a literal like cable that allows them to link to another universe is literally the physical game link cable in the real world too. That's essentially the connection that's being made, or it's at least analogous in that way, where it's like, okay. So the link cable is connecting to the other dimensions where other Pokemon live, and yada yada yada. Each weapon was never connected to the wormholes. There was something I'm trying to remember. There was something to do with dimensional stuff there. There was also the odd bit of X and Y having like drastically different outcomes for Lysander, which I mean, you know, Ruby Sapphire obviously went with very, very different plot lines between them. They're, I think, the furthest apart that any paired games ever did. But even just the instance of because I think I'm trying to remember if the weapon was meant to act in a different way in the backstory of X versus backstory of Y. But either way, the end of Lysander in Y, I think he gets crushed to death, and the energy of Yveltal essentially just fully kills him, drains his life force, yada yada, versus the Xerneas situation where he's crushed, but the after effects of the energy of Xerneas mean that he's probably immortal but buried forever under rock, which is haunting. Sun and Moon's Ultra Beast plot involved Emerald, Annabelle falling from another dimension, implied Oras Looker was also an old Looker. I'm trying to remember how Looker's situation in Sun and Moon went. That Oras Looker was an old Looker. Yes, yeah. Which is interesting because there's the possibility of there being two Lookers in the... Because there's also a whole problem of there's like 5 different slightly distinct timelines at this point. Depending on like every time a remake comes out, it kind of alters how the timeline kind of works. Not always in huge ways. Like Fire Red and Leaf Green, I don't think do anything massive, and functionally it's all the same. Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I think more or less keep it the same as well. I think it's even though like the stated way that it works from, you know, folks at Pokemon is that the remakes essentially replace their original versions in like the canon of Pokemon. But then you get Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire that like fully changes a bunch of shit. But then also you've got a Looker from the future probably that gets pulled in. So are there 2 Lookers then by the time you get into, you know, 2 years later, 3 years later for Gen 4 times? Never the Pokemon remakes never replaced the original in canon for later games as far as I can tell. I'm trying to recall. I could swear that there was like an official sort of mention, essentially, that they essentially consider the remakes. Seviallans have never showed up again. Were they not in Let's Go also? But also a lot of shit from old generations doesn't show up in anything else after, right? Kind of problem with Lysander was that in reality we only knew there was no body and everything else is implied by fans. What did they had something. What happened? I could have sworn there was something at the Cinnabar Islands that you could do. Thank you, Radar. Strats is super gay this month. I don't even know what gender Strats is, and you know they can be ultra. The Strats is pan. Strats is pan and non-binary this month, and that's canon. That's just how it is. And maybe forever. Who knows? We don't have to check. We don't have to. We can leave Schrödinger's rat alone. Welcome. It's funny. I was debating whether or not I was actually gonna have the camera on tonight. I went back and forth a couple times. I was having sort of one of those bad brain kind of nights, and was having a bit of a moment, and then the whiplash of getting very good news immediately after that just kind of like threw me really hard. I'm like, all right, let's just put the fucking camera on. Schrödinger's rat can absolutely be the title. We can make that happen. Someone wants to throw that into the stream suggestions on the Discord. Strats are really into Ultrakill and Gundam. Yup. It really is attracted to the grind. Yup. Pokopia mentions them. Does it really? Oh, that's cute. I have not gotten into Pokopia. I've bought it, but I haven't had a chance to start it yet. I'm going to be on a work trip in under 3 weeks, and I'm going to be bringing it with me. Personally, I think many fans were influenced by the animated thing Lysander was dead because over there's no doubt about it. All right. Oh, all right. 1,000 to platinum. I gotta figure out what the art, what the art and thumbnails for Generational Trauma are going to look like. I know what I want to do for the logo. It's going to be probably my most challenging logo I've ever made. But I know exactly what I want to do for it. And the real question is what I do for art for that. Well, art and thumbnails, because I want the thumbnails to stand out. I want them to stand out in general. I want them to stand out from our usual Nuzlocke and Pokemon fare, because really, the vast majority of our Pokemon videos have very similarly designed thumbnails, and I do that on purpose. Did I miss 100 for... Did I miss another 100 for platinum? Damn, when did that happen? Was there a second 100 that went in and I just completely missed it? So I see the 1,000. All right. I mean, I will believe you. Whoops. Here we go. Did I get that right? Here we go. 1,200. I have 1.1 million points. Crazy how the Switch 2 has exactly 3 games: Kirby Air Riders, Pokopia, and Mina the Hollower. I'm excited to start playing Mina the Hollower at some point. I only have to... Oh, you can spend 1,000 a day for the next year. You're all good. But yeah, I like just about the only... So there's 2 categories of Pokemon thumbnail across like the entirety of our channel, and that is the Fire Red Leaf Green type. So basically gens 1 through 4, probably 5, the sprite-based games at the very least. Most of the sprite-based era, we have, you know, artwork on the side, logos and stuff, and then something in the negative space to sort of represent the episode. And then basically everything in the 3D era of Pokemon is the same thing, but what's in the negative space is a screenshot from the episode. Part of the reason for that being it's a lot harder to get good art resources for the 3D games as opposed to the sprite-based ones where there's a fucking trillion sprites that I can grab from at any time. Explains who the hell Grand Oak is. Don't forget Deltarune. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. Trying to decide at what point I should start playing Deltarune. I have played none of it. There was discussion about this. I was hanging out in, I think it was in X Iceberg's stream like a week or two ago, and I was just hanging out in the chat because they were talking about Deltarune, and I was mentioning that I wanted to wait until the second to last chapter comes out at the very least. Because, like, I was going to do my same thing. I was going to do the thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to wait for the whole game to come out, and then I can play the whole fucking thing as one extended thing. And, like, the same points got made that have been made in the past to me, which is, like, you know, you're missing out on kind of the community element of that by not engaging with it until it's already out. Like, you're kind of missing out on the theory crafting and stuff, which is true. And it's not, like, the biggest deal to me, because I don't know. I followed The Boys for its final season. I caught up and then watched it along with, but I didn't really engage with a lot that was there. I made like my 2 predictions, but that was kind of it. But I had like instead the alternative to all right, I'll play it when the whole game is out was maybe I'll play it when the second to last chapter comes out. And someone in the chat was like, well, because I guess the idea is that chapter 5 is like imminent. And then Chapter 6 and 7 are going to come out essentially at the same time, is the plan. Don't know how likely that is to happen, but... and there's a certain element... I think Deltarune was already out by the time I played/finished Undertale. But there's a certain... Like, there's a part of me that is like... It would have been kind of nice to do, like, 5 or 6 or 7... like smaller sets of streams to do as a whole collective thing, but a few days the anniversary of Chapter 3 and 4's release, yeah. So, like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I've got so much on my plate for streaming right now, though. We got this. We got Nightmare of the Dreamy Let's Play. I mean, we have Metroid Prime, but we are going to be finishing that up, like, this summer. And the goal is to start getting Mega Man moving again sometime soon. And that will ultimately include Project Cross Zone 1 and 2. I don't know if it's Project X Zone or Project Cross Zone, but we got 2 of those to do as streams. And I want to say they're both on, like, at least as long as Namco Cross Capcom. Okay, I mean, yeah. Feels weird for that one. Namco Cross Capcom makes sense. Project Cross Zone is, like, a little bit stranger. But so those are going to be streams, and those are probably going to take better part of a year a piece. I don't know. Yeah. So I don't know. There's never enough time, and like I need to also be a person outside of this, Road to Dual Override. Oh, yep. Because it's coming next year. It is coming next year, and I talked about this a little bit, and it's like. I gotta get the big video is the thing that's in the way. And to clarify again here, because I did this in a previous stream as well, but I want to make it abundantly clear, the big video doesn't have shit to do with Alex Yard. I also don't even know if I'm gonna actually do that video anyway. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that shit. The big video is its own thing, and it has been for a while. But we have enough other things that we can be doing aside from Mega Man. And I won't feel right moving on from it and leaving it behind. So, Gravity Circuit, also Gravity Circuit 2 coming soon. I don't know if you heard the announcement. Gravity Circuit went free on Steam today, so I picked it up. And now there's Gravity Circuit 2 coming next year. A shitload of Gunvolt games, including Mighty Gunvolt Burst. What else? There's a handful of stuff. I do have a list. I do need to update the list. I am actually sorely in need of updating my Mega Let's Play and Supersonic Let's Play lists because I wanted to include a few things that aren't present on those from like a year or two ago. And for like on the Sonic side of things, it also includes like, you know, the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, which I fully intended for us to play at some point shortly after it was new, and then we just never did it. But like Sonic Dream Team as well in there. Sonic Rumble, I want to do a proper Let's Play of. Oh, Jesus. On the Mega Man side, there's like 20XX and 30XX. There's, oh god, Delta Protodroid, I think. Oh god, there's so many that I have to look up the names for. Kid Bash might be in one of these series somewhere. You just play old Sonic games again. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the ones that, when I'm talking Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic Dream Team in those, I'm talking about putting those at the end of the line, not up front. It'll be a hell of a lot easier for. Oh, sorry, you need to just play old Sonic games, meaning like the Genesis era. Hey, I mean, I'm always down for playing 90s Sonic games. Most of those are fine. Some of them are garbage, but most of them are fine. Protodroid Delta, thank you. Yes, I had it backwards. Lunar Lux, which I think I've actually got some Kickstarter-based stuff in the game. Like I have a character in the game. Picking up from Riders. Oh well, yes, yeah, that is the plan. If I can film the rest of this Sonic Racing Cross Worlds intro, maybe tomorrow even, then we can finally get that shit on the road. And then once that's done, we're back into Riders and the contemporary. It's not really contemporary. I guess Riders is Crossworld is contemporary, so the opposite. But we get back into that. Keep on moving forward. Sonic Chronicles is going to be interesting. That may become a weekend game. Because otherwise that could take a long ass time and just kind of take up a lot of weekdays. So that might be one that starts on a weekend and we start the next Sonic games alongside that and do kind of a classic Zelda type situation. Oh, are we almost at 52? I didn't think we were going to get there. It's tricky because like it drops so fast and we get so little from the battle. Let's see here, because now it's under 5179. Yeah, I am crawling up very slightly. Yeah, Sonic Chronicles essentially is going to be the new Star Force. I was low-key planning for that to sort of replace Star Force, but recording has been difficult for that too. Try to have some patient people with your Chronicles. Don't want it to become a Battle Network 4. Oh, God. I mean, so, not to go down this road again, but, you know, as I'm doing the, you know, video production equivalent of pulling my feet and hopefully my boots out of the quicksand and mud without losing them, getting things back on their feet. Like there's a non-zero chance that series are going to become more solo focused just to keep stuff moving. TD's game with awful music. Ooh no, that's not good. But yeah, it's been quiet around here lately. Partly, you know, our own schedule, partly other people's schedules. I don't think I've had a completely eventless weekend since the anniversary stream, and I'm not going to have another one until August. And I am a little bit exhausted by that. I told Sarah, I'm going to start saying no to a lot more stuff on weekends, because losing 4 months of weekends, not whole weekends, but like chunks of weekends, which makes it harder for me to make plans or others to make plans. It really takes a big fucking bite out of my ability to get stuff done, both in terms of recording and also like editing. People who complain about Battlelord 4 are probably by and large just not people that are around that much anymore. D-pad members, yeah, for the most part, yeah. Or at least not regular enough that I would like hold things up to try and have them be part of it, you know? Barely above Sonic Eraser in terms of music quality. Jesus Christ. Holy cow. Classic Sonic music, but default Windows MIDI. I mean, I used to do that. I used to do MIDI arrangements circa 2000. And you know, made a bunch of that stuff. I mean, I'm on so it is newly edited. I put up a straight up not edited version of it for as part of the anniversary stream, as one of the interstitials. What I mean by not edited is I tried to find a decent audio level for each of the 4 audio tracks and the episode, and then just let it go. When I do my audio editing now, I'm literally sitting there listening to the whole thing. Slice, bring that up a little bit. Slice, bring that down. Oops, someone's coughing into the mic. Let's get rid of that. I didn't do any of that. I didn't have time. So this is an actual properly edited version of that. It's also, because the anniversary stream hasn't gone up yet as VODs, it's also the only version of it that you can actually watch at this point. There's awful June Sunaway classic Sonic tracks for the most recent games. Oh, geez. Yeesh. Same commentary as the anniversary stream. Yes. Yes, it is. Yep. This is just the finally published version of that. Yeah, the interstitial bits we had were... what was it? We had Virtual Hide-Lide, which has gone up. We had Mega Man Fully Charged, which is now up. We had an intro-less version of the first episode of Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. I forget if that was fully edited at the time. It is fully edited now, minus the intro, which is what's getting tacked onto the front of it so it can go up. Kirby Air Riders, it's the second episode, because we have a first episode that is very different, and that also needs an intro. And what's the last one? Oh, the Whitney battle, which went up like immediately after, along with Virtual Hide-Lide. I think those were all the interstitials. Was that a bug? I thought that was a bug. 549 experience points to get to level 44. The writing is pretty charming. That's fun. That's fun. Kirby Air Ride is so good, I can't believe we got it. Yeah, I need to figure out, speaking of 100%ing, I need to figure out what we will consider Let's Play complete versus, you know, eventually when we come around to it for the Nightmare streams, we will get all of the, like, challenges that are in there. I don't know if this one also does, like, oh, once you get a certain amount of things, there's a credits thing that unlocks or something, but... Also, hello, Honker! Hello, hello, hello! I'd be willing to spend $500 on a Kirby Air Ride sequel. Turns out I was lowballing it. Oh, God. Isn't it so cool how video games are appreciating in value all of a sudden? That's so cool. That's so awesome. It's really healthy. That's a really healthy thing for the industry when everything is going so well that everything costs more week over week. The normal ending and secret ending of Road Trip are fair game for considering Air Ride as a complete LP. It makes sense considering the other modes are by and large not the same, but like they are returning modes from Kirby Air Ride. I know City Trial is kind of done up differently, but and maybe we'll like kind of poke our heads into each of the 3 of those just to be able to look at them and be like, here we go. Although I guess to be fair, we are also seeing those in Road Trip, so maybe it's not a whole necessary thing, but do multiplayer set of episodes for City Trial Air Ride and my wote. Is that worst of all time? Top Ride? Top Ride's interesting. I find it kind of cute, but... Multiplayer, then yeah, do the other modes. Yeah, when we recorded, I did ask, I think it was Jeff that was with me for that. I did ask, if he wanted to join in for some multiplayer to start. And he was like, let's do, and we wanted deciding on, let's do Road Trip first, and then we can multiplayer after that. So I think that is going to ultimately be the idea there. You never get a full city trial on Road Trip, but you do get tasks on the map, yeah. But yeah, we'll probably poke our heads into those. Maybe between, if the normal ending and the secret ending are two separate runs, then maybe between the two runs we'll do some multiplayer stuff before returning to try to get the secret ending. Online co-op, we certainly could. We could do some of that. That might also be something that I save for Nightmare streams too, just because there's going to be so much more going on there too. I mean, yeah, it's definitely true. I would have to sort of schedule out one of those or pick a night to stream it or something, but get on play online to get all the achievements. According up with nothing unlockable behind them. Oh, well. I mean, in that case, then we'll certainly, at least do them by the time we do the Nightmare streams. Whoa, oh boy. Have a good night. Have a good night, Joe. Catch you later. Pass after the deadline for their reading. Ugh. Yeah. All the rat fuck shit is pretty awful with all of that. That definitely sucks. All you gotta do is make sure you're not skipping getting actual machines in Road Trip, even if you hate them, they're necessary. Oof. AV meaning anti-vaccine? That'd be my guess. Oh, age verification, right? The other big fucking thing. Because yeah, when you as far as Kirby Air Riders, when you grab an air machine or a ride machine or whatever it is, that unlocks it for you everywhere, doesn't it? Because isn't that is I think is that how you unlock them broadly? I'm trying to remember how it's been quite a while since we did that first session. You can unlock them other ways. Okay. Gotcha. Need all of them in Road Trip to get completion. That makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Ooh, just 10 more battles and we get our next level. And we've only been in for an hour and we'll say 15 minutes. I should jump back to the other questions I was considering too. I was talking about this earlier. One thing I was going to try to throw to stuff is should I have level caps in Generational Trauma? It wouldn't be too hard to look them up and figure out which ones were which and just have them written down somewhere, but it's a question of whether that's adding too many rules to be or too much to be juggling at a time or what, but that might be one that we add as a question. Another one was, should we keep the shiny claws? I'm inclined to say yes, just because the odds of it happening are still so low, but it's unplayable without set mode, no items, level caps. Keep the claws. Yeah, we may wind up doing that. So I'll put that in as a question then. When we most of these are when we wrap up the current sets of questions that are all which blank blank. And that's true too. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a grueling thing. Part of the challenge of this is just how much there is volume wise, If you don't keep the shiny claws, then seeing a shiny wouldn't be exciting. That's true. That is also true. I mean, it'd be exciting. I'd be sad, and I might even catch it just to, hang on to it for my own sake outside of it. But yeah, it would definitely dull that down quite a bit. Another one. This one kind of occurred to me. So, we're gonna have the family clause in there. Do the 2 Nidoran lines count as a single family? Should we consider the male line and the female line separate, or a single family line? I don't know that there's any other real... Like, the closest you really get to a similar situation elsewhere would be, like, the for better for worse, the Tyrogue line, considering, considering you usually wind up with one of the evolved versions kind of already. Hardcore Nuzlockers go farther than me these days. Some of them ban status conditions and setup moves and limit you to the same number of Pokemon as the next gym leader. Yeesh. They learn different moves. That's a fair point too, actually, yeah. Hardcore Nuzlockers can't have fun. Yeah, like, it's interesting because, like, I'll watch a oh my god, I'm about to mix up Small Ant and Ant Dude, and my brain is just broken enough tonight that I don't think I'm gonna be able to. It's Small Ant. Yeah, Small Ant is the one who does Pokemon. Is the one who does, I mean, among other things, a shitload of Pokemon streams. And like, I definitely enjoy watching his weirder, like, restrictive runs on stuff. Ant Dude does Kirby. Oh, you're right. Yes, yeah. I follow both, and I for some reason I just can never keep it straight. Honestly, the easiest thing is that I also follow Small Ant Mom, who actually dropped in on one of the Mario Party streams at one point. But yeah, I enjoy watching those kind of challenge runs, but they seem really intense, low-key kind of miserable. And I mean, some of them are just designed to be painful from the outset, where it's like, oh, there are people who will do shiny-only runs, like shiny-only Nuzlocks or something, that just seems needless. Or there'll be ones where it's like, the challenge of, can I get through a Pokemon game without using a damage move, like a damaging move or something, Yeah, we're up to level 44. We should be able to get to 45 tonight. Hopefully before 2. Alpha Rad did that, and let's go Pikachu. And even requires you to have 50 bonds in your decks. Took him a year. Oh my god. Wait. Okay, did he have a rule that he couldn't do the same one? Like, he couldn't have I guess you have to have 50 different Pokemon. That would explain why it takes a year. Because I'm like, just chain one thing a whole shitload and you're fine. But hardcore Nuzlocking is for people who have played the games to death. They find them impossibly boring unless they make them arbitrarily hard as hell. That is true. That is fair. And I don't think that I am in that realm at all, to be honest. Like, I don't know these games like the back of my hand well enough. I mean, Gen 1, sure, it's Gen 1. And, like, I have a pretty decent degree of familiarity with, like, 2 and a certain amount with 5. And we've played 6 onward more recently, so, like, the knowledge is a little fresher or whatever. But, well, the funny part is, like, we've played the franchise fairly to death at this point. But, like, the individual games, it's rare for us to ever even engage with one game twice, An old Seer Challenge run video of Pokemon Gen 1 where he banned using anything with an A or an E in the name. In the end, it was a solo run with Jinx, where the only good move was Psychic, and its limited PP and Elixirs having an E meant the rationing had to be very careful in Elite 4. Oh, God. Yeah, Ether and Elixir both have E's. God, that really does take out a lot of otherwise competitive stuff. Jinx is honestly not horrible for that. Just thinking about the Elite Four side of things. Because I think Ice resists Ice. Because what? It's water resists water, ice resists ice, and water resists ice. But ice does not resist water, so it would be resistant against Lorelei's main type. It would be resistant. It would be neutral to Bruno's main type. It'd be weak to Agatha's main type. However, depending, like, I guess for in Gen 1 though, her type, even though she's supposed to be a ghost person, she's kind of more of a poison trainer. And all of them are weak to psychics. That's good. And then you have Lance, who has a handful of dragons. He has two Dragonites, I think. So they're both super weak to ice. The other one's less so. And then depending who your starter was, you might be in a good position against... Oh, no, actually no, because you'd be forced to pick Bulbasaur to start. So your opponent would have a Charizard, which would at least be neutral to ice. Jinx can't use an ice move because ice has E, yeah. Yeah, what are even... The only ice moves in Gen 1 are what? Ice Beam, Blizzard, though it misses a lot. Oh, wait, no A or E. So, yeah, so no there. Oh, and yeah, no A or E, so Bulbasaur is also out, yeah. I guess the idea is you have your starter, you catch something, and you throw your starter away. Yeah, Powder Snow doesn't have A or E. Powder Snow wasn't in Gen 1, though, was it? Everything else on jacket shit. What's the most iconic Pokemon challenge video? Money it's Game Champs Pokemon Blue to no damage run led to a whole mini trend for the more masochistic wing of the Pokemon fandom, doing no damage runs in basically every game. Yeah, I've definitely seen some folks who have like long series of like surviving Pokemon Emerald with no damage kind of thing. Sounds awful. I hate the idea of it. Did it exist? Huh. Because, yeah, the only ice moves I can even think of are Ice Punch, Ice Beam, and Blizzard from Gen 1, but I might be missing some. Because eventually there was what... I was going to say Cold Snap, that's not right. Sheer Cold, but that also has Ease. Technically, Mist, I think, is Ice type, but it doesn't do damage, so... Power Snow is Gen 2. He used a cheat to replace the start of the Jinx. Okay. Wasn't really broken early on because you're limited to pound with a shit attack stat. God damn. Jesus. Because, yeah, what do you have? So, all three of the evolved starters have an A or an E. Butterfree has an E. Beedrill has an E. Pidgeot has an E. Sandslash has A's. Raichu has A. Persian has E and A. Alakazam has A's. Golem has E. Machamp has A. Articuno has A. Zapdos has A. Moltres has E. Yeah, you really don't have much of anything. Dragonite has E and A. Dugtrio. Dugtrio actually would be a pretty good one. That'd be a pretty solid one. For better or for worse, you could have Dodrio as well. Dodrio is not quite as much of a like cannon as Dugtrio can be, or at least as fast. Next valid move is Lick. Then no other learnable valid moves till the TMs for Psychic and Submission. Ugh. Jesus Christ. Psycho Cut wasn't a thing back then. I think we may need to prepare ourselves, folks, because there's a high probability that this is the last stream where we're going to get 2 levels. The only way that it can really happen again is if the next stream we have is like a good 6 hours long. Because the first one took us like About an hour. I guess the first one took us like an hour and 20-ish minutes. Hour 15, hour 20. So, like, we should be able to get our next one, you know, after that. It's not impossible that in 5 hours on the next stream we could get 2 more levels. After that, though, I think we're probably cooked. And it's going to be 1 and change for a very long time. Because Diglett has an E. Yeah. Was he doing, like, Nuzlocke type rules? Or was he allowed to catch, you know, freely so long as it matched the... Because you can catch Wild Dugtrio in Diglett Cave. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to use Scratch, but I think that they just natively know Dig. Earthquake you couldn't use. Was Fisher? Oh, well, Fisher has an E. Yeah, not a lot of good stuff there. Sand Attack has A's. It was a solo run. Maybe that was just assumed. Oh, okay. If it was a solo run, Diglett maybe isn't as good. But if you could build up a team, then sorry, not Diglett, Dugtrio, then Dugtrio would be a pretty worthwhile one to have there. Trying to think through some of the other ones there. Pinsir was not all that good in Gen 1, if I recall correctly. Yeah, not a lot of options there. Limitation, you only heal with Potion, right? Because Super Potion and Hyper Potion both have these. Whoops. There we go, getting more comfortable. Wearing my MagFest shirt from this year. Also, I don't know if you saw the announcement. Next year's MagFest in DC is Zelda themed. Hell yeah! It's gonna be a grand old time. Yeah. We haven't been keeping an eye on the time. Not like the real world time, but the in-game time. Because we are inching closer. I forget. Yeah, we're actually getting quite close to getting under 320 hours total. Maybe that 300-hour estimate from the beginning was actually a little bit overestimating. I still don't want to go like, oh, we're totally going to be under 300, but like, it was either 1 or 2 streams ago that the total estimated time between where we're at plus time left dropped below 330. And right now we're at like 321. We're actually we just went back over 321, but we were under 321 for a second there. What are all running in Champions? And all those. I haven't played Champions yet. I don't know if I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm going to. Just because I never really got into like competitive Pokemon team building. Or like, you know, multiplayer battling much. Like I'll do it for a thing. Obviously I did it a bunch for Jeff and Dave's X and Y set of streams because it was a fun thing to jump in on. But it is sort of the vibe with those, you know? Definitely ignoring Champions, yeah. It is interesting that it's basically just a canon version of Pokemon Showdown, kinda. Get a little warm. There we go. Okay. That's much nicer. But yeah, I'm actually curious if we're going to, and when, if so, we're going to get under 300 total hours estimated. I kind of assumed that we were going to wind up over 300 in the end, but the numbers are kind of dropping. Oh, I miscounted earlier. We were at 321 in 10 minutes. But we are still, you know, shaving time off of that too. Best part of Champions is there's an in-game way to find a very winning team and copy it. Oh, I guess that's fair, yeah. Not exactly Pokemon, but I'm currently playing a mod of 9 Souls called Promised. Final boss. Oh, okay. This is probably the second fastest video game has made me react. Interesting. Okay. If you are the type to skip the team building, which I am not. I only boot up just to see if there's any content that was meaningful for acquiring bonds, but not really. Gotcha. As far as like, here's an easy way to get special King Gambit or whatever. Rick's Nuzlocke rules are super easy according to most people who do them. And I know gift Pokemon are usually banned unless they're the first and only encounter for an area. Yeah. Honestly, like, I'm not even necessarily opposed to being done with that. Part of the reason that's in there is because John was never, ever, ever going to be willing to go along with not receiving Pokemon that are handed to you for free. That said, I was pretty firm when we did Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearls. Like, we are not allowed to use Mew. We are not allowed to use. Was it Shaman? I think, or was it Celebi? I forget who. Maybe it was no, it was Jirachi. Like, we can't use those. We're not allowed to use those. That just breaks shit far too hard. It's not good enough for the games to need to make them harder. Yeah, it's true. I don't have learn sets and, even abilities and stuff memorized. I'm still trying to figure out how I want to approach certain aspects of generational trauma, because when John and I do our padlocks, and generally when I do solo Nuzlocks as well, I tend to not allow myself to look anything up. I have to go purely from memory or from, context clues and all that. But when I do generational trauma, the only game in that entire series that's going to be new to me is going to be Black and White 2. Because there's no way that John and I are going to finish Heart Gold and do Black and White and do Black and White 2 by the time that happens. So that's going to be totally new to me. Everything else I've at least played once or been part of. Like, I haven't actually beaten Sword and Shield, but I was here for the entire thing, So I don't know how I want to adjust any of that. Like, I don't want to sit there and stare at a sheet of like, all right, so we're going up against Misty. She's got this Staryu. She's got this Starmie. Here's the move. Like, I don't want to do that, but I may also not be quite so gung-ho about like, I can't know anything. Random battles of showdown. Same friend of mine who displayed the Mario Kart spreadsheet. Nice. 6 random numbers. Correlate that to a Pokemon species. Build a team with them. That's fun. We definitely did random team generation for the Pokemon Showdown video that went up. I feel like I did pretty well with those two. I don't think I won either of them, but I put up a pretty strong showing. And at least one of them I started very strong, and then like the flame went out after, like, I think I burned it a little too hard, and so it's just like, whoop, we're done. The other one, though, I stayed in pretty fucking long, but I knew that I was like, I'm not going to be able to, like, outlast this. Like, I'm making big moves, but it's not a sustainable thing. I like Battle of Showdown is just better. Plus, like, 6v6 with Champions just lacks. Okay. Oh, wait, Champions doesn't do 6v6? Is it all 3v3? The sort of guy where you can say a number and I know what Pokemon it is for the most part. The DS and Switch eras are way fuzzier in my mind than Game Boy and 3DS eras. That's fair, that's fair. There's a handful. I used to have basically all of Gen 1 memorized. And that was kind of it, actually. I never really memorized Gen 2. Even though there's only 100 to even think about in the first place. Oh, is the stream acting funky? I'm not seeing anything on my end. It does look like the video quality is a little bit less good on the stream side. But that also just might be my MacBook being a little bit upset. But yeah, when we were doing the Pokemania thing, the few that I remember, because I think I still know the first, like, 26 Pokemon straight. I know Abracadabra, Alakazam are 63, 4, and 5, because Kadabra used to be my favorite. I think Farfetch'd is 83. I'm trying to remember. I think the legendary birds go right before the Dratini line. So you'd have Articuno being 144, I think. Zapdos 145, Moltres 146, Dratini 147, 48, 49, then Mewtwo and Mew for 150, 151. Yo, thank you, Gollux. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm so itchy. Jesus Christ. Oh, right. I keep forgetting that the estimated time left does also take into account the experience points we're getting. So if we're suddenly getting a bunch of battles with low experience yields, that time isn't going to drop by as much as it would have if we had like a level 5 something in there. Could be more than half a year. No one's figured out the math yet. Competitive is 3v3 singles, 4v4 doubles, just like all the battles. Yeah, that's yeah. Thing about random battles is saving a strong Pokemon for as late in the battle is basically the number one strategy that applies to all teams. Yeah. Yeah. That definitely seems to be the case. Which is a very, I don't know, it's an interesting way of kind of flattening the experience to a certain extent, but I don't have that kind of Pokemon knowledge, but there were plenty of times in Insurgents where I only won because I could intuit what held item an opponent had before it was obvious. Yeah, I really wish that I had realized that up against Calreth the first time there. And now I know. So now I'm a little more ready for it. I just have to remember, I have to basically treat this big fuck-off Dragonite like a Mimikyu. Do some whatever the fuck damage just to get it down from 100%, and then throw ice at it and hope for the best. Bring 6 take through is called Battle Spot Singles. Okay. Interesting. Oh, I'm honestly nervous about getting back into Insurgents. It's happening soon. It may not happen before I go on my work trip. In fact, if anything, I might record it before I go, but it may not air until after I get back. Late June or late July is going to be kind of a weird time. I'm not sure how I'm going to be handling video content for those because I'm going to be gone for roughly 4 weeks out of a 6-week period. Something's got to go up. So what I will probably do is I've been in the process of preparing VODs, but not uploading them yet. And I think that there's going to be a lot of VOD uploading going on during that period of time. Just because, like, I'm going to have a ton of shit going on. I'm going to be traveling so much. I've got one... Oh, my God. As of today, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 travel days. And those are just days with where the point is traveling over the span of a little over a month. That's going to be a lot. I'm going to be so goddamn tired. Did it now. Interesting. I don't want to know about it, to be clear. And this is not me like getting mad at you or anything. I did not know that. That is interesting. Please don't tell me about it. But that is very interesting. At least it's good to know that there is one. But I guess that's another thing I have to think about in terms of streaming. I gotta play Persona 5. I gotta get my ass into Persona 5 so that I can because like if I can get through Persona 5 before Persona 6 comes out, then sick. I might be able to play Persona. I might be able to play a Persona game when it's brand new. Yeah. Because if I don't do it with Persona 6, I might die of old age before Persona 7 comes out. But yeah, maybe that's a thing that we think about later on in this year. Yeah, 2038, just in time for all the computers to go over their integer limit. Persona 5 is long. Yeah, I've heard that's pretty long. I've heard it's in the ballpark of like, you know, that it's 100, 150 hour type zone. It'll be a lot. There's just too much to do, and this Rattata stream is probably the nail in the coffin to actually get anything else done in a reasonable time, unfortunately. Yes and no. I can shove this around here and there as need be. I don't want to stop it entirely if I can avoid it. But you know, the original goal was to have done it last year into this year and start generational trauma for the 30th anniversary. That's clearly not happening. Well, it can't happen because it is in the past. That clearly wasn't going to happen very early into last year. The new-ish goal that I had, assuming I would be able to keep this going mostly every week, possibly some bonus streams in there, was to try to finish this before the next D-pad anniversary stream. I don't know that that's super likely either. It really depends if that number on the side, on the bottom, well, for you guys down this way, on the bottom left, if that number drops by enough, that total time, which right now is just a smidge over, it's at 321 hours and 5 minutes total, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, you know. If that comes down enough, then there's like an outside possibility of that, but it's also not the end of the world if I don't do it by then. So I don't know. Maybe I'll win the lottery. If I win the lottery, then I don't have to work anymore, and then I can stream a bunch more. I can do day streams. This could be a day stream thing. This could be a thing that I literally do in this hypothetical world that doesn't exist. This could be a thing that I do for, you know, like 3-4 hours during the day. And then, all right, cool, you know, 2-3 times a week I got some other kind of stream, and it'll be, you know, Metroid, it'll be Nightmare streams, it'll be Persona. And this would just be the daytime hanging out stream. I actually do kind of like the day streams. I haven't done many of them, but I've done a few. Sonic Weekathon, ironically, is one of the rare times that I get to do, or I got to do day streams. Not because it was Sonic Weekathon, but it was because I was unemployed. But, I don't know, there's something about it that was kind of nice. I definitely had more energy coming into the day. Oh, that fucking sand attack. Dude, knock it off. Persona 4 Revival is probably getting a release date at Summer Game Fest. Atlas has been teasing. I was under the impression that it actually had already come out, but I guess not. I guess I would have heard about if it had. So honestly, I always debate coming to these streams because I feel like to some extent that is endorsing their content, which I absolutely do not. I mean, this is a very special brand of self-inflicted. I was about to call it torture. It's not torture. I've actually been enjoying this quite a bit. It's kind of zen. It's a very meditative type of experience, but it's definitely a self-imposed challenge, a self-inflicted gauntlet. I'm like struggling to find the right word for it, really, but I guess it's February of next year for Persona 4 Revival. Okay. I feel like so if that's the case, then like Persona 6 would have to be targeting like a late 2027 or 2028, you know, release date then, because they're not going to like crowd the plate by putting out 2 Persona games in 1 year. Gauntlets and challenges are hard. They absolutely are. It's true. The hard part here is less the actual thing that is being done is not hard. It's sort of hard in the meta sense of like going through all of it is the hard part. It's an endurance test, you know. Persona 5 came out in October in Japan. Oh, I mean, like, most game series, I don't put a lot of stock in when in the year games come out. Pokemon is one that I do just because for a solid like decade plus, every November, the third Friday, there was a Pokemon game for a decade. So that just became kind of the rhythm. Third Friday in November, Pokemon. They've fallen off of that recently. They have fallen off that a lot more recently. Running through the predictions for the second batch right now, I'm realizing this stuff I had absolutely no idea was on the channel. Looking forward to the video explaining all of them. Yeah, absolutely. It's honestly, it's part of the the intended appeal of the tournament is also to like show people some of the stuff that's in there that folks might have missed, because there's a fucking ton, and I have no expectation of anybody having seen them all. So it's a good chance to introduce folks to either stuff that they had no idea we had done and that they would be interested in, or alternatively just something we're like, what the fuck is that? Let me check that out. My hope is that tomorrow I can get most, if not all, of the Heat 3 links added as attachments, and then by the end of the week have all of the Heat 4 attachments. Those take a while. Those take a surprising amount of time to actually put in there. And I'm hoping to be able to get the rest of them done before the Heat 5, 6, 7, and 8 link attachments in before predictions for 3 are due. And then at that point, it's much easier because I can just copy paste from one match to the next to put those forward. Persona is Sega's third biggest series nowadays. They probably want it pretty close to holiday. Oh, absolutely. Yep. Get a 5-foot cube, granted live streaming yourself tapping with a butter knife for 3 hours solid every week till you got through it. Absolutely, but we've all seen Doctor Who, so that's not novel. That's the same thing that someone else has done. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a certain amount to it that like is very much sort of the novelty of how stupid and involved it is. I don't know. It's just an interesting just concept. And in some ways, too, I'm sure this is probably boring to a lot of folks, but it does kind of, in some ways, tap into what I first started streaming for, which was, I just want to play some stuff where I don't have to worry about, like, the editing side of things, or at least not as much. I've since started getting a lot more involved on the editing side with streams, though it's usually got more to do with like, making sharper layouts or putting together like intro outro type stuff, what have you. But it is kind of nice to be able to just sort of hop on and just start doing stuff. Just be like, all right, we're just gonna do this. I don't have to think about much stuff. We're just kind of going through some things. Let's see. We're under 321. I don't even think it's novel. I mean, it definitionally is. I am not aware of anybody else who's ever done this. And maybe I'm wrong. I could totally be wrong about that. And in which case this wouldn't be novel anymore. But I don't know, just interesting. In some ways it is interesting because it is not visually interesting, but I don't know. It's kind of a weird, like, hobbyist sort of take on the streams and things. Oh, did I get another message that I missed? Whoa. Oh, okay, no, that's PattyBot in the server. Okay. I was looking down at my Discord notifications and I was like, that was at 7 before. Why is it at 8 now? And I was like, oh, because I believe I include myself in Twitch ping. Because that way I also know when other folks are about to, start streaming for stuff. Yeah, I mean, again, it has less to do with the actual direct act of like what we're accomplishing with it, which is we're just grinding. But it's got more to do with just like everything sort of surrounding it is just strange enough. I saw something. I thought I saw some kind of spider on the floor. It's not a spider. It's some... I can't tell if that's like a piece of lint. We'll check it afterwards. The other thing that's kind of nice about it, though, is it does give us a chance to, one, do a whole bunch of podcasty type hanging out. The other one is kind of strategizing for the gen lock for next year, maybe even the year after, if we do pause this for some chunk of time to do other stuff. Actually, speaking of which, the next question I was debating adding into this was, should regional variants count towards the family clause or not? That could get kind of interesting in some spots. Like, if I catch a Diglett in an early game, am I allowed to catch an Alolan Diglett in, Sun and Moon? It's not helped by the fact that there are some regional variants that are fully distinct, like the Digletts, and then there are some that are not fully distinct, like... what's a good example? Oh no, I'm like fully blanking right now, but doop. We normally catch a Feebas in every stream. Regional variants absolutely should, but convergent evolutions are separate. Yeah, the convergent evolutions have to be separate families. Like they're different Pokemon. Because, I'm blanking so hard because there's at least one regional variant that is an evolutionary thing, not a like two separate lines thing. I'm fully blanking right now. Raichu, yes, Raichu's a good one. Yes. Because there is no Alolan Pikachu, it's just regular Pikachu. Oh, Marowak as well. Yes, that's a good example too. So yeah, if all regional variants are considered part of the same family, then yeah, Berserker and less likely, but still an outside possibility, Sirfetch'd wouldn't be likely to be obtained. Same goes for an Alolan Raichu or an Alolan Marowak. Eevee gets tricky. Eevee gets very tricky because essentially, if I pick up an Eevee in Gen 1, which I'm likely to, because there's really not a reason not to, I then would have to decide if I wanted to use it in Gen 1 or if I wanted to pocket it for Gen 2 or later or Gen 6 or later, specifically for the purpose of getting, or actually Gen 2, Gen 4, or Gen 6, if I wanted to get Espeon Umbreon, Glaceon Leafeon, or Sylveon. And I would need to pocket it rather than just hang on to it and level it, because if it levels too high, it's not going to learn any of the actual helpful typed moves that it would learn in those other evolved forms, and we only get one. We only get one evolution. Comes level 5 when you get it in Celadon, which is good because that means that essentially in any future gen, all I need is one badge to be able to use it, because any first badge in any other Pokemon game would go well beyond level 5. Later, Sea-Dude. So that'll be an interesting one to kind of get into. This one feels kind of obvious to me, but does the Celadon Game Corner, would it be a single prize allowed there, even though they're all, strictly speaking, kind of gift Pokemon? I think the answer there is probably a yes. I'd only be allowed to grab an Abra or a Dratini, or I forget what the other one is. Is it a Bellsprout? What the hell is the other? I forget what the other purchasable one is. Porygon. Oh yeah, Porygon. Duh. And Dratini is Gen 2 anyway. I don't think Dratini is in the Game Corner in Gen 1. So it gets weird because you can get a Surf/Fish in Celadon too. I think the idea for surfing and fishing in towns is ultimately going to be the same that we handle it in Padlocks, which is that essentially counts as your wild encounter. The biggest trick there is they're going to be almost exclusively water types, and catching one there means not being able to catch one freely later on in another game, and having to wait until I can command them properly to be able to use them in those later games. There's some nuance there. Oh, should the Safari Zone count as 1 area or 4? I've usually gone with 1. Just partly because I don't memorize which Pokemon are in which areas, so it's functionally random to me anyway. But I've definitely seen some people vouch for the Safari Zone and, the Great Marsh and ones that are functionally Safari Zones, all being, each area is a separate catch or something. Partly because of, just how weird the battles work. But I'm also inclined to go with 1, that it's all one big place. It just kind of simplifies things, honestly. And, if the point is to have it be restrictive, then I think that leans in on that pretty well. Oh, this is one that kind of came to me sort of out of nowhere. And I think I know the answer on this one as well. Do fake Poké Balls, such as, that are Voltorbs, Electrodes, Fungus Amoongus, all of that stuff, do those count as static encounters? I feel like the answer needs to be no. I feel like those just need to be treated as, wild encounters. It's essentially, they're essentially, not even essential, they're literally mimics. You're trying to pick up an item and oops, it's attacking you kind of thing, but, and yeah, maybe we separate the Great Marsh, even question-wise, and discuss it separately, too. That's always a possibility. And then the other 2 questions I am reserving for later. Great Marsh also has 4 total Pokemon outside of the daily one. Nice. Noticeably different from the mons in the area, except in the case of certain areas where there's no other wild encounters, like Gen 2's Rocket Out, where you get the 3 Electrode on the generator. In case you could get them separately. So maybe it's more of a case-by-case kind of basis. Maybe that can be a separated out thing, because we do need more questions by the time we're done with this. We've got about 40 questions, maybe a little under 40 questions in total right now. And that is currently not enough to get through the thing. But hell, maybe there will be some decisions on, maybe I will leave it to you all how I will evolve Eevee or something. I don't know. We'll see. Fungus and Unova are scattered everywhere on routes where they're found naturally. That makes sense. I feel like in that case, it would have to just count as a wild encounter. Whoops, probably shouldn't have grabbed that. Sorry. Which does mean I'm probably going to be very particular about not touching items in some areas until I've actually had a real encounter. Ooh, I don't know if we've passed 52 experience per minute yet, but we are right on the borderline. We are extremely close. We're also flirting with the 320.5 line for total time. Is this going to be enough? Probably not, but let's see. Yes! Oh, it very briefly. For a single second, we were at exactly 52 to the point where the display actually fucked up a little bit. That's so funny. My display is very much like staples and hot glue. It's doing its best to do all of these things every second over and over in a JavaScript thing. There we go. Now we're past 52. Hell yeah. Maybe myself in the predictions. I'm so torn on. I don't want to say it because it might influence things, but it's super painful. Yeah, the earliest matchups, the first full round of matchups, the 512 sets of 1v1s, most of them are not terribly difficult to make a call between. There are a few though that's like, whoa, okay, that's a difficult one. In my predictions, though, there were a lot of, moving forward, every next round got way more difficult to make a decision on. To the point where, like, there's some where I was like, I have genuinely no idea how people are going to vote for this. And it's just wild guess. We'll see how it goes, but... yeah, let's start heading back. Okay. Yeah, we got a little bit under 320.5 there. Nice. It's low-key my other goal for tonight is can we get the total estimated time under 320? I think we can. Feeling pretty confident, actually, that we can. But yeah, I'm so interested to see how the tournament ends up. There's so many things that I'm so fucking curious to see how people vote on. It'll be very, very, very interesting to see. I'm not sure. I have an idea for how I want to do the video bits for round 2 and onward, because once everything's been voted on at least once, you don't need an explanation of what, you know, Sonic 3 is, right? But it does get interesting to kind of take a look at what games the victors have beaten on their road there too. So I think there might be a little bit of kind of acknowledgement of, like, you know, which here's the 3 that it's beat on its way to this round 4 matchup or something. Might be kind of neat. But that is so far out. There's Ruined Kirby 64, Quiplash Kirby 69, the Crystal's Hard. Oh, God. The classic. The classic. I'm actually a little surprised we've only had one poll so far out of, I think, 9 streams that have been for the nicknames. We had 1 for nicknames. We have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versions decided out of 11. The only versions we haven't decided on yet, because now there's fewer, we have Gen 1, 2, and 3 all decided, and we're deciding 4 tonight. We have not decided on Gen 5, Gen 8, Gen 9, Gen 10. So after tonight, we will have the first 4 plus 6 and 7 determined which games we're going to play. So that'll be very interesting. Okay. Let's check in on a couple things real fast. Okay. Alrighty. There's a part of me that is, like, also debating sort of writing up, like, kind of a compressed version of, you know, what winds up happening with some of this stuff for like a not an abridged video, but it's just sort of like a you know, essentially one of those, like, I did a blank type things, but being able to explain the premise and walk through it in a way where someone does not necessarily have to sit through the entire process to get, you know, something out of it. Oh, actually, the other thing I was going to check. Hey. It's been fun watching the comments come in on the Fully Charged video. There's definitely Definitely been a nice positive. I do miss when Fully Charged was airing and being able to watch it and talk about it and review it each week. I miss that kind of a lot, actually. Flicky is a game that we played as part of the intro for, I think, Sonic 3D Blast. It is the game that Flicky originates from. It might have been an arcade game originally, but it was on the Genesis. I think it was Genesis. It might have been Master System, but I think it was Genesis. And you play as Flicky trying to escape from cats. It's like 3 or 4 levels of stuff, and you're like flapping around trying to avoid getting grabbed by cats while collecting stuff, I think. I would need to actually take a look at it from there, but it's a very common format of game. Done up differently because you're playing as a bird, so you can fly a little bit, but the classic, like, I'm trying to do things on a bunch of, like, you know, levels of platforms without getting cornered. Cartoon Network didn't give Fully Charged a chance, likely because the online reaction to its reveal was very much like Sonic Boom's, and we were a part of that. We ripped it apart when it first, like, started revealing stuff, because the initial stuff looked not good. I'm talking like the pre-release stuff looked not good. The initial wave of 10 episodes was better, but it was still something that, like, it really took some time for us to get comfortable with. By the end of the 10, I think I was kind of generally intrigued to see more. John was still kind of like, I don't know. Ian, I forget if Ian was watching as part of those, and he was just like, nah, I'm good. By the time the show was over, though, like, John and I were both, like, very sad to see it go. I would still, if I won the lottery, if I won a big lottery, I think I would probably make a few phone calls and see who currently owns the rights to stuff and goes, okay, let's see if we can't get another season going. I'd be all about it. Now that I know it has to do with Sonic, my choice is easy. I have no idea what it's up against off the top of my head, so... Oh, God. The ones that I feel the worst about when doing those videos is the Jeff and Dave streams for the games that I don't... And CJ as well, though it hasn't come up yet much for him, because his are going to be more near the middle. Just because I don't have enough time generally to watch other people's streams. So I don't know the first thing about Drove a Forsaken Kin. I had to look stuff up just to get, like, I had to look at the video to get an idea of what it was going to be. Same thing with Divinity Original Sin. I know Barotrauma, but it's also part of why I include the links too, so that people can take a look and like see what's there, get a sense of them. I gotta figure out. First of all, I gotta figure out whether Spoiler Goblin is a distinct entity from Krem Goblin, and I think the answer is yes. And I also need to figure out who made a hasty prediction bracket. I still don't know who that is, and they're doing well. So, I need to get someone to claim that. Then again, if they don't actually put a prediction in for the other rounds, then it's probably not going to matter much, but still. Most of these I can't really predict for in good conscience. They're up against more notable juggernauts. For the most part, I have to see where they end up. Yep. It was tricky for me, too, to be honest, doing my own predictions, because I was just like... So in some cases, like that, there was that great example of Mega Man Battle Network 5 versus Amp Gear, where I was like, okay, Battle Network 5 is for sure the better game. Amp Gear is like a legendary video on the channel, though. So, you know, it's difficult when there's that kind of discrepancy, I guess, between them. What was the coolest Jeff's here is probably that dungeon crawler game, which somehow I forgot the name of. Azure Dreams is the one where he broke the soft lock. Azure Dreams. It was another instance of Jeff managing to make connections with the speedrunning community of the game by way of doing, a more obscure stream, because that was similar to what happened with an Indo, I believe. All right. Boopy-doopy-doo. It's been interesting, too, the synchronicity of, like, everybody else being super busy and unable to stream for a while. Because usually there's at least one other person that's doing streaming stuff, but lately it's just been me. And for Dave, I'd obviously have to give it to Elden Ring, but I think that hasn't been in the immediate bracket state either. Yeah, Elden Ring itself has not shown up yet. I think that's going to be in the third wave, I think. Maybe the fourth. Elden Ring Night Rain is in one of these. I think it's in the second batch. I think it's in the batch that's being voted on right now. I really should watch that one at some point. Gotta get my John F. Benadryl situation going on. I keep wanting to say H. John Benadryl because of H. John Benjamin, but that's obviously incorrect. John F. Benadryl accomplished many things, yeah. Funny part, too, is that I have to remember to distinguish in my brain. There's John F. Benadryl, Dave's Elden Ring character, who is not the same as middle-aged man from Sonic 06, who is begging for Benadryl. Two different people. They're not the same. I have yet to actually dig into Tomodachi Life, and part of the reason why is I want to figure out who am I actually going to put on the island. Because right now it's I think on the island I made me and I made Sarah, and I forget who the third I think the third one is Patty. And I'm like, okay, realistically I should get rid of those three, maybe keep Patty, but like try to make some of the more notable characters that we've encountered over the years. I have no idea how I'd make John F. Benadryl. It'd probably take a lot of face paint. Middle-aged man may not be too bad, though. That actually might be a fairly easy one to put together. One of the weirder things, especially for how long this channel's been around, I have such a hard time, like, picturing our most memorable characters. I think because so many of them are literally just characters that exist in the games we're playing. Like, Mr. Mock is an easy one for that. And then you've got other ones who are fully non-corporeal characters, like, oh no, I just lost his name. Oh no, Mr. Jorgensen. Mr. Jorgensen and his myriad health problems. Like, he I don't think we've ever attached that name to a face. So it's very difficult. And it's so silly because, like, part of what spurred this on was Tomodachi Life. Part of it was also, like, not that we're doing any of this kind of stuff anytime soon, but, or maybe even ever, realistically, but, how would you make Cameron? I mean, Cameron's another good example of one who is by and large non-corporeal. However, there are a couple arguments for possible candidates for Cameron. One of which is the Cacnea, who I did recently dub Cam/Camknea/Cameron, because he only shows up when the camera's down. There's also, and this is kind of a deep dive, but the point of view, like the POV character in Sonic Dreams Collection when Sonic sucks you into a black hole. If I recall correctly, when you see that scene from a different angle in one of the other minigames, that like you as the character from that thing are like a person with a camera for a head. And I think that would probably be the closest we have for Cameron. Wait, there was something else. There was I think I could swear that there was it might have been in Sword and Shield. I'm trying to remember. I could swear that there was one of those like paired up like news crew trainers where the cameraman was literally named like it was like Patty and Cameron or something, but I don't remember. But it's funny because the other thing that got me thinking about this at one point was just like seeing some other YouTuber that's got like a U2s or one of the custom plushies or what have you, and I thought about it. I'm like, if we ever had the opportunity to do one of those, what would we even do? I guess we could do Patty, but like Patty is literally just a me. Like it's not there's not a lot of distinctiveness to that like design. And it's literally just a me. And I'm just like, I have no idea. Interviewers, oh nice, Jillian and Cam. All right, cool. That was why I was like, I could have sworn it was Sword and Shield. I could have sworn it was near the ice area where you go north through like an icy zone. I think it's like right before you get your fossils. Gabby and Ty are the common interviewers. Okay, nice. Gotcha. Oh, that's fun. Roxy and Ollie. All right. That is fun, though, that they've got a set of interviewers that actually turn up multiple times. I think that's fun world building. Even if it's extremely subtle and unlikely to, like, and it doesn't really go anywhere, but it's kind of a nice thing to have. Ooh. Oh my god. Yes, computer, I want to open the link. Oh, nice. Oh, he's so bummed. He's having a rough time. That's Cameron is played by Dustin. Almost done. Just the round 5 and round 6 for number 2 left. Nice. It gets so hard when you get down to like 16, 8, all that jazz. Sometimes you do wind up with like this one just keeps winning because the ones it's up against are like not that great, and then you get 2 that are just huge against each other, and it's like, so now what do I do? Last time trial to populate the Excel spreadsheet. Nice. Congratulations. Yeah. It'll be interesting playing OG Ruby, because that'll actually be the first time I've ever played OG Gen 3. Core Gen 3. I'm not, Fire Red and Leaf Green obviously were literally the first Pokemon things we did on the channel at all, but I have never actually played Game Boy Advance, Ruby, Sapphire, or Emerald. So that'll be an experience. It's going to be an adjustment getting used to. I feel like the sprites are weirdly skinny in Gen 3 for some reason. I don't entirely know why. I should also decide at what point I'm going to switch from emulated games to non-emulated games. And I think the answer is going to be... realistically, it should be as we get into the DS era, because then I can do nice crisp recording of the DS. I guess depending on the... No, actually, I was going to say, I guess depending on the emulator, I could probably do integer scaling in a way that keeps it nice and crisp. But I thought about it, and it's like, I know that for some of those Pokemon games, the 3D portions of them especially in Gens 4 and 5, act a little bit strange in some emulators, if not, like, accounted for properly. So maybe after Gen 3, I will then switch to physical hardware. I don't know. I guess I could also do it based on how early into the game trading is allowed. Oh, actually, that's going to be a whole thing, come to think of it. Because I can't just hand Pokemon over. I have to trade Pokemon. So that might be a little bit of a limiting factor. I suppose there's an argument for when I wrap up a game, when I wrap up a gen, I sort of reorganize my boxes so that I have a general, like, here's the order that I can start using them in, more or less, in the next game. Because I know I've explained this concept for it before, but the idea that I was going with was Pokemon from a previous gen are usable in the next gen, but only after I've gotten the badge that allows me to use them without them disobeying me. Like, I'm only allowed to use a Pokemon so long as it actually will listen. So, and with a level cap, it sort of forms like a high bar and low bar there, which is sort of interesting. But that way it's like, okay, well, I can't just take a level 30 whatever and bring it into my team. I have to get the badge that says that Pokemon up to level 40 or 35 or whatever will obey, and then I can use it. So maybe what I can do is I can organize my dudes in a way such that the lower level ones are listed first, and then when the time comes, I can literally just make extra catches and to do as trade forwards to pull them in. I got to think about that a little bit. Because the longer, it is not easy, especially considering, Jesus, actually, the more I'm thinking about it, because between Gens 3 and 5, trading up is like a whole fucking thing. Like, it's not impossible by any means, but there's like extra steps that aren't really present in later games. In one of them, there's literally this fully meaningless minigame you have to do in order to activate your trades or something. It's very weird. So maybe I will double check how the trades like literally work, and do, because if I can just, force push them from one game to the next for a while, that will make life easier. Like, hypothetically, I could emulate all of them. Minus, I guess, Gen 10. I have no idea what the state of Switch 2 emulation is right now. Probably not very good, considering Nintendo's been cracking down on that lately. Which has less to do with the fact that there are Switch emulators and more to do with the fact that the people making the Switch emulators started getting a little bit braggy about having access to like pre-release material and disseminating ROMs before street dates and stuff. Which, like, I'm fine with, both the preservation aspect and even the piracy aspect of it, but if you're going to pirate games, one, probably not a smart call to be working on that for games that are actively on the market right now, like being sold actively. Just generally not a smart call, because that shit is like slam dunk territory if they ever found out. Like, legally, it's like, oh, we can straight up calculate damages off of that. Like, that's bad. But you sure as shit don't want to be, like, bragging or talking openly about that stuff either. Like, not so much like, talking openly like, oh, I'm emulating whatever. Like, I'm emulating this. But you definitely don't want to like have evidence of, oh, I run a Discord server where, you know, everybody shares the latest Switch ROMs or whatever the fuck. Which is, to be clear, not the case in our Discord or any Discord that I'm in. But it just seems like a dumb thing to be, like, so open about. It just seems very dumb. So I guess, actually, okay. No, I have a plan. I have an idea. 'Cause the real answer is I need to look up how each generation, starting with, I think, 6, maybe 5, I think 6, though, how each of them work in tandem with Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Home. Because at the very least, Pokemon Home lets you just place Pokemon from one game into the next. You move them into Home, and then you move them into the next game. So I need to double-check how that stuff works. Yeah, there will be a point where Dexit becomes a limiting factor, which is fine, because by that point, I should have so many Pokemon that, like, only having access to, like, a third of them is actually a, like, useful barrier. Not in the sense of, like, oh, this helps me make decisions, but it does keep it tricky, because I don't just have access to everybody forever. Remembers how great that particular LP was. All right. Interesting. I'll be very curious to see what that winds up being. Don't forget to... Oh, I guess you're doing predictions. Don't forget to vote for the 3 games that tied in the first heat. Because if we can untie them come Friday, then those can be resolved, which will be great. Can I remember what they were? Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire special demo version versus Mr. Bones. And realistically, I think that one wound up being tied because people saw Pokemon Omega Ruby and ... And that probably didn't help because it may have looked like just Pokemon Omega Ruby. There was also Shadowgate versus Heretic Shadow of the Serpent Riders. The third one I think was Smash for Wii U versus Evoland 2. I think it might have been Smash for 3DS. I believe it was one of the Smash 4s versus Evoland 2. Which is an interesting one. Because, like, I could actually understand why that might be tied. But yeah, Mr. Bones is a very fun video. Yeah, I think we're going to continue it. I think we're going to do some more of it this year. We might. We got to figure stuff out. We got to figure out what event type things we want to try doing for the back half of the year. I'll tell you about this because it's not happening. Because I've kind of thought about it some more, and I'm like, I don't think it's a cute idea, but I don't think there's enough variety in it that to make it, you know, interesting. Which was, Takashi Tezuka is, I think, retiring fully from Nintendo, and I was debating, like, what could be, maybe we could do a little, because he's retiring in June. And I was like, maybe we can do a little mini-series of, like, the games he worked on as a developer, like, prior to his producer and director days. Hey, Shell! Hello! Strats up to level 44, getting close to 45. Doing all right. We're actually almost at 90,000 experience points. I was just mentioning that there was a series that I was debating doing that that we're not doing at this point. And just to give folks a peek behind the curtain at some of the stuff that I, like, roll through my brain every now and then of, like, would that be interesting? Yeah, no, meh. So Takashi Tezuka retiring in June, and I was like, maybe we can do a series that looks into the games that he was a developer for. Which is like Devil World and a couple early, like, Zelda games, stuff like that. And, like, do them similar to our, like, console play type stuff where it's, like, just a one-off for each of them. And I even had a name for it. I was going to name it 10 out of 1010. I thought it would be very cute. Problem with that, there were 12 games that he worked on before he started being a producer. But I just thought that was kind of a cute thing. But then my other thought was like, oh, I mean, this is a, you know, he's not as obvious as like your, you know, Shigeru Miyamoto or your Koji Kondos or any of those. But like Takashi Tezuka is kind of one of the titans of, you know, the old era of the game industry. Maybe we do a series where we do a one-off of all the games he's been involved in, which like sounds good on paper until you look at the list and it's like, oh, that's a lot of like New Super Mario Brothers, New Super Mario Brothers Wii, New Super Mario Brothers 2, New Super Mario Brothers U, and I'm like, okay, whoops. And like a handful of Yoshi games and a handful of, and while they would be fun to get into a little bit, it would probably be a little too samey across the whole thing, and I don't think it would be a very interesting, you know, end product. The other issue, which is its own thing, is just I'm running low on time to have been able to put that together before he retires or shortly after, and also I'm about to go on these work trips, so I just don't think that I've got the spreadability to get that done and not have it come out half-assed. So I'm just like, let's not do that then. The only reason that I was considering in the first place is because back in 2015, I think, we played Kirby's Adventure specifically because Satoru Iwata had passed, and it was a game that he had worked on. It was one that John and I both had a, you know, strong affection for. And we thought it'd make a nice memorial, I guess. And then the next year we started doing the Dreamy Let's Play, so we played it again, but sequestered myself from Spooky Week because I got spookier, jump scared. Didn't want to continue, but I should have known Mr. Bones was. Yeah, Mr. Bones has no jump scares. Yeah, what did we do? We did, so there was Spookware, which honestly only really had the jump scare at the end. The others had like very minor little like not even jump scares and more just like just creepy aesthetic. Ire a Prologue definitely had jump scare adjacent. I guess jump scare. They had the audio sting, and there was definitely one or two moments of like, oh shit, run. Yeah, Mr. Bones didn't have any scares at all. It was more a Halloween type game than it was a scary game. And there was also Sleep Awake, which was more trippy and weird. I don't remember there being any real jump scares. There was kind of weird imagery in a couple moments, and there is an area where you're doing stealth stuff, and if you get seen, you get chased, but it's not like, oh, run. It's just kind of like, oh, they saw you, they got you. Mr. Bones in the Saturn game. Yes, that was the game that we played as the final game in our Halloween series last year, and the first in our Sega Saturn series last year. Oh, that game is hard as shit. We played for like 2 hours, and we're not even a third of the way into that game. It's going to be like a 12-hour platforming game. I might legitimately have had an easier time playing Kid Chameleon. Joel. We need to tackle more Saturn games. Oh yeah, we did a lot of Saturn games. We did about 40 of them. Last year there was the Saturn Return series, and the premise was we played the complete collection of games that were released on the Sega Saturn in the US and were exclusive to the Sega Saturn. They could not be released on any other system. I could swear there was one more element to that too, actually, because we didn't do like, was Sonic R a Saturn game, or was that a 32X? I think that was a Saturn. There was one more element to it, because we also didn't do. Yeah, wait a minute. So Saturn games that had a US release that weren't on any other console. I don't know. Just call him Joel. That's all. It's just names. Other Joels that come to mind. There's a Joel I know in real life. Billy Joel doesn't really count. There's Joel Haver, the guy who does those like weird, like rotoscoped YouTube videos. Joel, I think, was also one of the guys on the Satellite of Love and MST3K. I believe that is just his actual real first name, too. Joel McHale. That might be all. That might be all that I can think of. Oh, man. Speaking of Billy Joel, anybody watch The Boys? Anybody a The Boys fan? I kind of randomly picked up the show like 6 months ago. Actually, probably less. Probably more like 3 or 4 months ago, and just so happened to get. Cause I didn't look anything up ahead of time. Just happened to be like fully caught up right around the time the trailer for the final season came out, and then I watched the last season as it aired. It's the first time I've watched a TV show as it airs in years. It It's an interesting show. It essentially falls into black comedy. It is very dark. There's a lot of moments of like real discomfort. It is, however, also a like grimly sort of funny show. There is definitely like violence and gore. What's interesting is I find the gore of The Boys much less disturbing than the gore in Invincible. And I think it's because both shows have violence and gore that is like graphic and exaggerated to the point of being cartoonish. But for while for Invincible, everything is cartoonish, so it just like it sells it a lot harder as just being like natural, like that's what it is. Versus for The Boys, it is played up both. It is a cartoonish kind of violence in a real setting and with real actors, and it's usually played up for a comedic angle as well. I guess spoilers for the very first episode of The Boys. The very first episode, or actually, I guess it's either the first or the second, but the ostensibly one of the main characters of the show winds up blowing up a superhero, because most soups in the show are actually despicable, awful people, as it turns out. But he winds up blowing up a soup who has the power of invisibility. And so he hits the remote as a thing's about to happen, and he just whoop, and it's just like literally just from nowhere a massive explosion of blood. And he's just sort of standing there, just covered and splattered, and just like, what the fuck? And it doesn't sound very funny, but like the way that it's presented, it's honestly kind of funny. You could definitely tell the budget... Superhero, yeah. You could definitely tell that the budget started to get kind of strained after Season 3. Season 4 and definitely Season 5 felt a lot lower budget than the previous seasons. And I don't know if that's because they had more big names in the show at that point or what, but it definitely... I don't think it really damaged the show in any meaningful way, but you could definitely tell there was a difference. The way it's shot was a little bit too like, but there's some interesting stuff there. Oh yeah, No worries, it's all good. But yeah, it's an interesting show. I mean, I think it's worth a watch, but you do want to have at least a little bit of a stomach, because there is some stuff that'll make you squirm. I actually stopped watching. So I had previously watched the first half of the first episode like 2 years ago, maybe 3, because I watched the first episode of Invincible. And the stinger for the first episode of Invincible is so graphic and played up for drama, and it's really uncomfortable and awful to watch. And I was just kind of like, oh, I don't think I'm going to like this show. So I stopped watching it. And then a few days later, I decided to try watching The Boys, and I was like, I've heard this one is also kind of in that realm, so maybe this isn't going to work out great either. And I watched until like a third of the way into the episode. And this is not a funny part, but there is. I guess I won't describe what winds up happening, but an event happens in essentially the like meeting room of the main like Justice League type superhero crew, and I was like, okay, I think we're done with this also, and moved on from that. And like, it is an uncomfortable scene and all of that and the aftermath and all that jazz, but I did ultimately wind up going back and trying a little bit more of it, and it didn't quite go like to that degree again, and I was like, okay, all right, I think we'll be okay then. It's an interesting show. It may not be for everybody. It's a shame that Gen V got canceled. They got 2 seasons out of it, and then the characters were implied strongly to be joining the main cast for the final season of The Boys, and then they show up in 2 episodes and they're barely there, to the point where they literally get sidelined actively by the main characters. It's kind of a bummer. We are on the absolute brink of estimated time in total being less than 300 hours. We're at 300 hours and like 2 or 3 minutes. This battle should bring us under 300. If it is under 291 and 12 and a half minutes, there it is. Just barely. But we're under 300 for our target time. Sorry, not 300, 320, 320. Yes, yep. I was just like, whoops, nope. Not the right number. But it is another 10 hours lower than it was 1 or 2 streams ago for the total time. So I am very curious how low we can bring that. I'll be curious to see if we can get it below 300. And I think that'll slow down more and more over time. Like, we certainly aren't going to get it to... So, like, we've been playing for a little under 29 hours. And we're about 9% of the way there. So, like, ballpark 300 hours does sound about accurate. But I don't know. We'll see. We're not gonna get it down to 200. I don't think we're even gonna get it down to 250. I could see us getting it down to 280 though. I think it's a possibility. Oh man. But yeah, The Boys is pretty good. Gen V is pretty good. Gen V is kind of hilarious in that so it's set in a college, and they go for much more bluntly, like vulgar and like nudity driven content. I don't know how else to say it other than, so there's a character who her power is she can shrink and grow. And at one point, she's trying to sneak into a room where 2 people are meeting, and her only way in is through the plumbing. And as she comes in through a toilet, there is absolutely a full-blown shot of a grundle and butthole of someone sitting down about to use it. You don't see anything beyond that, but that sure was a fucking surprise in the moment. Was not really anticipating that. I'm sure that those did not belong to the actor in question, but the actor, it was very funny as well because the actor who mostly plays that character, probably minus the stunt grundle, the stundle, if you will, the strundle, is also someone who. So I had rewatched The Big Short fairly recently, and he's in that, and it was just very jarring. Just be like, oh, okay, well, that's okie dokie. Oh man. They were gonna say they were gonna do the Ant-Man and Thanos meme. No, I think she considers it for a second. It's like, no. That is something that almost happened, that essentially happens in The Boys at one point, though. Say she got bowled over by that shot. Were you somewhat thrown? What a coincidence. I also like anime. Yeah. Oh, God. Let's see. I don't think we're... Oh, it's going to be close. We may get to level 45 before we have to go back to Mom's house. It's going to be very close. It's going to be very, very close. I'm not sure. It's gonna require us to do like better than average on our battles for experience. So we'll see how that goes. Right. If we can do 24 per fight, then we, like, on average, then we will get there. I guess, actually, it would also require us to not miss with any of our attacks, which is fine for quick attack, mostly. Not so fine for Hyper Fang. If we miss with even one of those, then our odds of getting there is basically 0. But yes, we crossed 90,000 experience points, and we're very close to 4,000 fights, too. Oh, hey, our estimated fights are also below 40k. Getting all these various thresholds at once here. Our estimated time is back over 320 just slightly because the experience we were getting for a few of those, and now it's back under, was below average. It'll be very, very, very interesting to see where this all ends up. Nice. But yeah, it's very funny to be like, yeah, we're about to hit level 45, and we are not even a tenth of the way there. Like, the point at which we hit level 10 was 1,000th of the way to level 100. Which is fascinating. There we go. I'm going to start hearing these two themes we get in my sleep. There's a part of me that wants to do a bunch of, like, statistical analysis on this at the very end of it. Like, how many battles did I have against Pidgey, against Rattata? How many were against level 2, 3, 4, and 5? There's a little part of me like, how long was I listening to the the Pallet Town Route 1 theme versus how long was I listening to the battle theme versus the victory theme and the level up theme? I guess those are the only 4 that we get. Oh, there's also the sleeping theme. The Pokemon Center. There's a lot of silly shit that could be micro-analyzed for no reason other than because it's there. That's one of the other things, is I'm a big math dork, and this is essentially one enormous data set to play with. I'm never gonna get my hands on a data set quite so large. this will be an interesting thing. The evolution cancel time, you're right. Yes, evolution would also have its own thing there. So that's 5 themes. Route 1. Yeah, Route 1, battle. Battle over. I guess level up, stopping evolution, and healing is 6. Be interesting. Honestly, if I ever did, it would be a matter of just, like, looking for a battle start and end and, like, do a little... Doesn't Pallet Town have a theme, too? No, Pallet Town uses the same theme as Route 1. Use the same one, I believe. Oh, no, you're right. You're right. No, they are separate. They are separate. I don't know why I was mixing that up. They are separate themes. Because Pallet Town has the... And then Route 1 has that... Yeah, I don't know why I had in my brain that they were one theme. Oh, I know why, because it's 1:22 a.m. And I've been grinding a Rattata for the last 3 hours. Ooh, we're certainly going to get past 29 hours as well. The really wild part is going to be when we get very far into this. So right now on the bottom left, I mean, there's the time counting up, which, like, on the bottom left, which is going to keep counting up the entire time we do this. But those other averages and things are going to eventually slow down and more or less lock in place. When we get very, very close to the end, there will be a point where I could literally sit still and the estimated time left won't move. Like, it'll just be like, yep, you've got this many seconds left, because that's just... Once you start acting, that's how many seconds this should take. I don't think we're going to wind up making it. I think we're going to fall short by, like, I don't know, maybe 70 experience points, something like that. It'll be close, though. Ooh, a rare miss with a quick attack. That one hurts. That's just driving the nail into the coffin. All right. That is the Gen 1 miss. Yes, I believe quick attack is 100% accuracy. Yep. We've had a bunch of those. That would be an interesting one as well. How many Gen 1 misses? It really is only going to apply to quick attack, because tackle I believe is 95 and Hyper Fang I think is 90. So it only would apply to quick attack. So we'll get less and less experience as you level up. That would be pretty rough, because eventually to the point where you start getting... I don't know if you ever get 0 experience, but you do start getting 1 experience. In Fire Emblem, Thracia 776, for some reason, unlike every other game in the series, the hit rates range from 1 to 99% other than 0 to 100. Interesting. So every move can hit and can miss. That's very interesting. Feeling 1. I would imagine that 1 is the minimum. There are so few games that I've seen where they will give you no experience. I think the only one that even comes to mind is, I think, Paper Mario 1. Once you are sufficiently leveled up, enemies will stop giving you experience altogether. Possible proof for accuracy less than 100. Yeah. Swift is the only perfect move in Gen 1. Yes, because it straight up skips that instruction altogether. Even though other ones have 100% and ostensibly should skip the check, Swift just fully bypasses it to the point where it just declares that it hits even when you're in semi-invulnerable states like Fly and Dig. Later on, Fly and Dig would be able to evade it, but Dragon Quest XI has the not experience from weak enemies difficulty option. Okay, nice. X accuracy applies the same thing as Swift. Interesting. Oh, I guess that's fair. That makes sense. That it just, like, jacks it up. Oh, because it was supposed to be that it increases your accuracy, but the end result wound up being that it just fully fucked up the formula and bypassed it, right? Like, that wasn't the intent, I don't think. Ooh, we're under 319.50 for a second there. Like, we're still shaving off pretty decent chunks of time. Very interesting. So yes, you can X-accuracy guaranteed kills with Horn Drill. Jeez. Fuck, that's brutal. That's really brutal. You still have to be above their level, if I recall correctly. Because Horn Drill, like, one-hit kill moves... Oh, wait, no, because it works... I'm trying to remember, because, yeah, in Gen 1, it's not level-based. It's, like, speed-based or something? As the baseline or something or other. So Gen 1 weirdness, your crit rate will be going up as you get levels. This means you'll actually be slowing down as time goes on due to the extra text boxes. That is funny. Yeah, because your base speed does determine accuracy. Yeah. Which is part of why Persian with Slash is such a devastating Pokemon in Gen 1. Because it already has a pretty absurd speed stat. And with Slash increasing the critical hit rate, I think it actually overflows and essentially just guarantees a slash. Or maybe that's with the X accuracy or something. I forget. It was a good speed or basically 100% crits. Yeah. Yep. Maybe the recommendation is Persian with Slash because Persian is easy to get a hold of. Because like Meowth is super common on what Route 5, I think, south of Cerulean City. I guess in one of the games. I don't remember whether Meowth is a version exclusive. I don't think it is. Right, technically, it's still possible for us to level up this time, but the odds are essentially 0. And now I think it's basically dead. Yeah, if the maximum amount we could get, I think, is 288. Persian is fast, Slash is stab on it. That's true too, yeah. Because it's the normal type attack. Wow, 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 wow. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so getting to level 45 is going to have taken basically 3 hours almost on the dot, maybe a few minutes beyond 3 hours. So it's not impossible that we could get 2 levels in, like, at least to the next stream. What are your thoughts on the whole what type is Sonic thing? I could see an argument for both. Well, so long as flying type is flying type and not wind type, which I think is a mistake personally. I think there should be a wind type, and that flying should be kind of a different, like a more of a status than anything, or state. If there was a wind type, I would say that like sound moves should by and large be wind type, but failing that, I think sound moves should be normal type. I would say that's probably the way to go there. Normal fighting. I guess fighting does make sense. Oh, sorry, you mean what type is Sonic the character, Sonic the Hedgehog? Sorry, my bad. I mean, the go-to is usually like wind and electric, depending on the game. Yeah. I feel like the games tend to lean more in the direction of wind, whereas external media, like the movies and a couple of the cartoons, occasionally lean more into electricity. considering the framing for that is often like elemental from the standpoint of a video game, I don't see why it couldn't be both. Normal type with speed boost for Sonic. Supersonic is normal flying with Wonder Guard. Wouldn't that make him weak to? That would make him susceptible to electric, though, which feels a little wrong for Sonic, or feels very wrong for Supersonic, who is 99% of the time completely impervious to electric things. If anything, I could see an argument for Supersonic being electric flying with Wonder Guard. That gets really futzy very fast. It's basically what, ice? Which I think in some games he actually can be encased in ice. Ground and fairy. No. I think Knuckles could be like ground and fighting. Or flying and fighting. Tails would definitely be flying at the very least. I could see arguments for he probably wouldn't be steel himself, but he'd probably have steel moves. Supersonic would be fair with the far-reaching justification of him being a prophetic figure in Sonic 3. Oh, I see what you mean. Sonic 3, the video game, because of the mural? Maybe. Oh, I guess there's also the argument that fairy in Japanese, like in the Japanese side of things, fairy is almost more of like a light type than anything. I could see that being something there too. Normal types tend to get a lot of coverage moves. That's true. There's a lot going on there. Sonic is also historically used. I mean, he's got his water, fire, and electric shields he's used. He's had the fire ring in Sonic Adventure 2. He does have his bubble shield type bounce in Sonic Adventure 2 as well. Yeah. Give me the top percentage of Rattata. That's the idea. Hello and welcome, Seraph of Chaos. Hello and welcome. We're getting there. We got a long way to go. But we are, I think the next battle is going to take Strats to level 45. Yeah, we're 3 experience points off. It's so funny because level 45 is going to still be less than a 10th of the way there. We have so much longer to go. But I will say though, and this might be counting my chickens a little bit. So we're, more than 9% of the way there. Less than 10% of the way there. I don't feel like winded on this yet. Like I don't feel like I'm just like, oh my god, let it just fucking end already. Like I'm not like drained on it yet. I think part of that is because it does get to be kind of a nice like podcast type, more casual hangout sort of vibe. But exactly, there's a ton of time left. I'm sure there will be a point where I start to like really feel it. But I also know myself and how my brain tends to work with this stuff, and I know that I'm going to start feeling a lot more relieved when we hit the halfway point, because anytime there's a long thing that I'm doing and there's a discernible halfway point, that's the part where I'm like, everything that's left is less than what I've done so far. Anything that I've done at this point is more than what I have left to do. And that usually is a really good like boost through that halfway point into the next chunk. And at that point, now we're starting to count down everything. Now it's like, okay, we're down to 120 hours, 100 hours, 80 hours. And I think like that will start to become the thing. It's like we're getting there. 12 more streams and we're there or whatever, right? But yeah, I don't know. Sonic can still learn acrobatics, bounce, maybe even hurricane, but with pure normal, he wouldn't get stabbed from them since he's more known for going fast on the ground. Yeah, I think he would definitely get extreme speed. I think that one has to be. Whether for Sonic or Supersonic, extreme speed has to be in there. Rollout, absolutely, definitely rollout. Defense curl, I could see an argument for, perhaps, especially because it messes with rollout. I didn't realize, by the way, I learned this very recently. I thought that that rollout started at double strength if the move immediately before it was defense curl. That is not the case. For rollout, if you use defense curl in battle, until that Pokemon is pulled back, rollout will always start with double. I did not know that. That's fascinating, and it also saves a bunch of turns if you do it for a lot. Spiky Shield, yeah, that's a fun one. That's a very good one. It feels a little bit more in the realm of like the cartoons where he kind of does his buzzsaw thing, but I think that works still. But yeah, Bounce is good, Acrobatics is good, Hurricane is good. Rapid Spin. Rapid Spin would be one for sure. But yeah, Extreme Speed would be in there. Quick Attack, pretty clear cut one there. I could see Static. Isn't there? Or no, not Static. Static is an ability. What the hell is It's very Thundershock-like. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I don't remember, though. Wasn't Shadow made because Gerald found the ruins of a super-powered hedgehog fighting a hyper-angry water kaiju? Discharge.Maybe Discharge is what I'm thinking of. I don't know if that one fits as well, though, now that I'm thinking about it. Oh, is it Nuzzle? Was Nuzzle the one it was one for like Yampert or something? I'm mixing like 8 things together. Yeah, Movie Sonic has a lot more electrical affinity. Nuzzle guarantees paralysis. Yep. Okay. Now let's see. Shadow's part fairy because he's a Jesus Christ allegory. Oh God, Shadow would pretty plainly be like dark and. I could see Dark and Fairy, actually. I could see an argument for Dark and Fairy. Dark and Fire, maybe. He might just have fire moves. He might have a couple, like, random steel type moves, too. Yeah, High Jump Kick would definitely be one that I could see. Depending on if we're talking like Sonic, Sonic Adventure 2 or even any of the games of the Flame Shield, Flame Wheel, I could see for that like rolling like flame somersault situation. Probably do Double Kick also, actually. Amy is just Moby and Tinkaton. Yeah. I would have to imagine that one of the most common nicknames for Tinkaton is probably Amy or Amy Rose. It's got to be way up there. It just seems so obvious, you know? Oh, God. I was trying to order myself some food because I'm going to do, like, work stuff after this for a little bit, but I keep getting distracted. Sonic is pure normal. Metal Sonic should be pure steel. Yeah, Metal Sonic would have to be steel for sure. The fuck? The barbecue bounty whopper served in a carton shaped like Mandalorian's helmet. I'm like, no, thank you. I do like the idea of the crispy pickles in there, though. Do you give Metal Sonic a higher speed stat than Sonic? I could see an argument for a higher speed stat than regular Sonic. I could also see an argument for giving them the exact same speed stat. That's a tough call. That's a tough one. I could see that going either way, though. Okay. Nice. Make his speed get higher whenever he goes second, like in the CD race. Which would be interesting, except that if he's going second, then oh, you mean like if he goes second, his ability is that his speed increases? That could be kind of an interesting way to do that. Megasonic is steel fighting. I could see that. It's interesting because, like, I think if you're going by purely the games, steel and electric makes more sense. If you're going by external media, I could see steel and fighting. Like the Sonic OVA, he definitely is much more of a brawler than he is in the games. So that would make sense to me. Alright. Get in there. Do, 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 do. Plot boost, yeah. I'll put this thing in before they close. Okay, get that, get that, get that, get that. Cool. This is what I get for looking down at the same time. Okay, we're just about good here. All right, cool. Apologies for that. Ooh, we're almost down below 319 and a half here. I think getting under 300 total is very doable. I was not expecting us to be knocking that much time off of that, to be dead honest, so... When Metal Sonic becomes Metal Overlord, it'd be Steel Dragon, absolutely. Classified as a Mega Evolution. Yeah, I would say that that's a sufficiently temporary evolution to be a Mega. I would say that the, was it Neo Metal Sonic Mark II or what have you? I think that would arguably be a normal evolution, though. I think that one would just be like a regular evolution for him. You could have, you would also definitely have a separate one for the Mecha Sonics. Like the various iterations of that. They would all definitely be steel. Those ones would probably be steel and like steel and fighting, I think. Because they're a lot more ready to rumble. Although I can see an argument for steel and electric for that also, because Mecha Mark II has like electric bolts that he electric energy balls that he shoots when he gets the Master Emerald too. Every time he Mega Evolves, it plays the whole cutscene. Yeah, the Super States also count as Mega Evolutions. I would say so. I would say that Super Sonic would be functionally the Mega Evolution of Sonic. The fact that Sonic has 3 different super forms and 1, 2, and Cyber, I would compress them all down to 1. I wouldn't worry about the multiple states for those. Hypersonic, Super 2, Cyber, those are all extremely like situational. All of those are locked down to 1 game apiece, I think. So I think those would be that'd be like a cutscene type thing more than an actual like battleable, condition. Right. But yeah, we did pretty good tonight, I think. We got our 2 levels. We're going to wind up with around the same number of experience points to get to 46, which is going to put us in a much better point for starting the next stream. I think the next stream we will be able to get 2 levels again. After that, the odds of us getting 2 in one stream are going to drop off pretty considerably. It would really depend whether we wound up It would really depend whether we wound up getting like a good 5-6 hour stream in, which I am, trying to do, but I've been struggling on the juggling of work and D-pad stuff, and I'm working on getting that a little more ironed out soon, but for the time being, I got a lot of big projects that are coming up, so I got to make sure that I'm on top of those. Right. Yeah, exactly, yeah. The D-pad doesn't pay for this house, but work does, so at the end of the day, that does have to come first. Sad but true. Alrighty. Yeah, I think we're gonna work down the rest of the moves we have currently. Oh, hey, Strat's got up to 100 speed. Hell yeah, my buddy's so zoomy. Strats is so zoomy. You know what it is? Radar did declare that Strats is gay for the month, for Pride Month. And if you've seen the maps post, you know that gives you a double speed boost for the entirety of Pride Month. So Strats is zooming for the next 4 weeks. Referring to a post that I feel like no one in here is going to have seen, but it's out there. I don't actually know what the icons in that post are actually meant to indicate. Because there's like walking speed. It was like a maps thing that's like, oh, by walking it's 5 minutes, and then there's another walking icon, and it's got a like rainbow to the side of it, and it says 3 minutes, and I don't know what that's supposed to indicate in terms of the map, or if it's a Photoshop. It could just be a Photoshop, and that explains everything. But if that is a real map thing, I'm just like, I don't know what that means. But it is a fun post. Chaos, obviously water, with Perfect Chaos being water, Dragon Mega. Yep, that makes sense. You can make an argument for a few evolutions there. Chaos, I'd say maybe Chaos 2, Chaos 4. Literally just the even numbers, probably. 024 or 046, perhaps. If you're running the rainbow from Lucky Charms, then yeah, you get there faster. Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know why, but the on-screen... So the reason I've had to use the Twitch IRC chat thing for XSplit because for some reason the HTML version... Something flying around me there. The HTML version literally loads up like a pop-out web page of it, which like does a bunch of weird shit. It's got like headers on stuff, and it's like, I just want the goddamn chat text, man. I don't want any of that other stuff. So that's its own whole thing. Yeah, 046 with 7 as Mega works, but yeah, I think that would probably make the most sense. Yeah, it's very much an XSplit thing. Big is normal water, but would even know any... No, I don't think Big would be water. Froggy would be water. Big would probably be... Big is probably just normal. I think he would just be normal, to be dead honest. Because he doesn't really identify with water features in any real way. Thick Fat for ability, which is funny because like, oh, I guess, you know what? That does actually make sense because 2 of the levels you play with him in Sonic Adventure are Ice Cap and Hot Shelter, and neither of them bother him at all. A recent new customizable chat thing called Slime 2 came out. Bar a few weird things. I think it's only really meant to work with normal OBS, but normal OBS is cool and good. All right, I'll have to take a look at that. I've not heard of Slime 2 before. Because, yeah, any kind of chat thing that will improve this for us would be great. Same thing goes for figuring out why the fuck XSplit disconnects from YouTube at least once an hour. It's the whole reason I don't multi-stream. If it worked, I would probably be multi-streaming basically all the time, because why not at that point? But it just doesn't work for some reason. And like most of you in here have seen that like it'll just arbitrarily disconnect almost on the dot every hour. Pig literally has a skill called Immunity in Chronicles, which is also in Pokemon. Oh, that's fun. Would Gamma be Steel with Levitate? I would almost be likelier to say give him Magnet Rise instead as a move and not Levitate. He would definitely be Steel. I don't know if he'd have any other type to him. I guess it's tricky because how much do you want to refer to the fact that there's a Flicky that is essentially piloting, sort of, powering, I guess, Gamma. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Alrighty. Gamma does have his hover upgrade and he has a propeller mode for staying above water. I guess that's true. Yeah, he does it enough that you could get away with a Levitate, I suppose. I could also see an argument for literally just Intimidate. I guess that's more Omega. Omega would be more Intimidate. And he has like a hover, but he can't levitate, so... He might... I'm trying to remember if he has like kind of a rocket-assisted glide along the ground, but... We have done over 4,000 fights. Normal Steel because it's just an animal in there. There's a possibility, yeah. Oh, estimated time left is now under 290 hours. Most of the time. I do wonder if that average experience per fight will ever cross 23. I don't think it will. I don't think it will. At this point, there's so much inertia keeping that more or less locked in place, but... Xenon flies away at the end of Gamma's story. It's true. That is true. It's tricky, though, because he himself doesn't fly. He hovers for short bursts, and he can... like hover above the ground as he moves. He like hover descent, like he glides almost, but just makes Steel worse. Why not? I guess that's true. All that really serves to do is it makes you immune to Ghost and it makes you even weaker to Fighting type. It is kind of just a net negative for Steel. Alright. Let's do it. By the end of each of these individual streams, I am a bit gassed. But I don't think there's been any of these that have come out of it going like, God damn, when are we done? Team Dark is all dark. Oh, yeah, Omega being Steel and Dark makes perfect sense. Shadow being part fighting, or the earlier proposed fairy. Yeah, Rouge would definitely be dark and flying. Omega with Steel, 4 times fighting weakness sucks, though. Though I can imagine that someone who is skilled enough at hand-to-hand combat, or close quarters combat, probably could actually manage to wrangle Omega to a certain extent. And to be fair, especially if Shadow's part fighting, the first thing we see of Team Dark in in Sonic Heroes is Rouge releasing both Shadow and Omega and Omega failing to land a single hit on Shadow while he darts around the room. So, like, it's not totally unreasonable. Before Forces, Omega had never been defeated in a fight. I suppose that's true. Who did he lose to in Forces? Yeah, oh yeah, he'd probably be very tanky, very defensive. He'd probably have very strong physical defense and offense. Or an attack, rather. And I think his special would be bad on both sides. Did Infinite beat Omega, really? I don't even remember that. Oh, that's right. Yeah, off screen. Yeah. That's part of episode Shadow, right? Jesus. Oh my god. Ridiculous. And Tails had to fix him, yeah. Sonic Forces really character assassinated a lot of folks in there. Fucking Tails cowering from Chaos Zero is like maybe one of the most embarrassing ones. It's like, come on, man. You've fought higher level versions of this guy. And you needed classic Sonic to rescue you. Like, come on, man. Yeesh, yeesh, yeesh. The first cutscene of that game I saw because it got leaked, and oh boy, yeah, that was not great. It's also very early into the game. I think it's the lead-in to either the second or third stage. It's just like, man. Actually, wait, no. Is that the lead-in? Is that part of the lead-in to the first stage? Because at the start of the game, Sonic gets beaten by all the Infinite stuff. Do you play as the Avatar first? Or Buddy, or whatever we want to call him? Oh yeah, true that. Oh god. What the hell was the line? Oh god, I'm trying to remember the Knuckles line. Or it's like, it's not supposed to be easy. That's why it's called war, or whatever. You start as Sonic, then get BTA'd by Infinite. Sandhill. Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah, the Sandhill thing is first up, yeah. That's before Classic Sonic's first stage. Okay, so yeah, so the third stage then. Goddamn. It's a non-zero chance we get under 319 hours by the time we're done. It's going to be a little tight, but we might get there. Oh, there's nothing good about this, yeah. That's right, that's right. There's nothing good about this. That's why it's called war. Like, that's not really... That's not why it's called war. For, like, a number of reasons. Usually a phrase like that would imply that the actual word itself, war, or the specific usage of it, comes from the fact that nothing good ever happens. Like, that's not really... It's not really how any of that works. Yeah, that's Sonic from another dimension, aren't you? Yeah, that was a very weird change, and I want to say Sega and Sonic Team have stuck to that as the explanation, that Classic Sonic is literally Sonic from another dimension, where it's like, that straight up can't be the case based on how Sonic Generations worked. Which is nuts, because they had a perfectly good explanation to go with, which is essentially, oh, well, when Sonic Generations happened and Classic Sonic got pulled into there, that created a branching timeline. And now Classic Sonic can go off and do other things, such as Sonic Superstars, well, I guess technically Sonic Mania and then Sonic Superstars. Sorry, Sonic Mania, Sonic Forces, Sonic Superstars, while modern Sonic instead does Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 and yada yada. We already established what dimensions are with Blaze. That's true. That is very true. Oh yeah, and then Sonic 06 did some weird stuff with that, but that got... Sonic 06 then took Blaze, who was from another dimension, and instead went, actually, she's from the future. I want to say that the weak explanation we've gotten since is that it's actually, it's like she's from another dimension and also the future or something. But then in Sonic Rivals, they also fuck with that. Because in Sonic Rivals 1... The other Eggman is explicitly from the future. And then in Rivals 2, the other Eggman is explicitly from another dimension. And not from the future. So it kind of seems like they're doing everything in their power to avoid time travel being a thing. Which also doesn't work because still Silver is from the future. Including in Sonic Forces, for which him being in that game makes literally no sense whatsoever. There's no reason for him to be there. And if anything, him being there feels like it fucks things up too. Well, alright, there we go. 29 and a half hours or so. 29:36. Time left just a hair over 319 in total. Yeah, 06 is interesting. It's like the events, the timeline is aware that the events happened, but none of the characters are, because both Sonic Generations and Shadow Generations acknowledge it, and Mephiles is aware of the fact that he's been removed from the timeline too. Sonic is actively removed from time until both Sonics run through. I mean, that's entirely possible for sure. Yeah, how does time travel work? But anyway, I think we're gonna call it there. We got 4,047 fights in. Holy shit! How bad do you want to? Do you not want to play a pre-platinum version? It's got less to do with me than what it does with everybody else. But I'm going to double check my... Where did I put my files? So I wanted to tell you guys what's coming up. I have far too many... there we go. What's coming up? Tomorrow... I'm going to be streaming with Shad JV. We're going to be doing our SMZ3 combo multi-world randomizer. I don't think we're going to finish this week. I think we might finish next week. But I've got a ton of stuff I can do, so that'll be moving along. Wednesday will be both the end of Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, literally like probably an hour, maybe a tiny bit more. And then, time depending, we will probably be starting Federation Force as well. And then that's it for me until Monday, when we're not coming back to this next Monday. I have a Mario Party game. I believe Jeff is actually also going to be in that one as well. And then Wednesday of next week, more Metroid. Friday of next week will probably be Digimon night. There are some things that have come up that I may not be available that night. If it still is going to be that way, then we'll have to move it. Unfortunately, at that point, we're going to be moving it at least into July, if not August. I hope we can do it, though, because we're right at the end of Digimon Adventure 02. We'll be back to this in 2 weeks on the 15th. Also on the 14th, I am doing yet another Shell Shock podcast, so not this coming Sunday, but the Sunday after. We're going to be talking about the life and death of E3. So that'll be an interesting time there. Yeah, but that is going to be it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for hanging. When we come back next time for this, we're going to be crossing 30 hours. We're going to be crossing 100,000 experience points, so we'll hit our first 10% threshold. I don't think we won't hit 5,000 battles just yet, but we probably will get the estimated time down to something in the ballpark of 280. So that'll be fun. But yeah. All right. Thank you guys again for hanging. I'm going to get out of here. Have a good one, and bye.